This is KSL News Radio,
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, police are investigating a murder at an apartment complex in West Valley City where a man was apparently shot dead. Police say they found the victim in the parking lot after a passerby called it in around 9:30 last night. West Valley City Police Lieutenant Bill Merritt says they believe this was a targeted incident.
The people that live in the area have no need to fear. There's not somebody randomly going around and hurting people. Multiple
witnesses told police they heard some commotion at some point but didn't know what was going on. No suspects have been named or arrested that we know of at this point. A Colorado man is facing charges after prosecutors say he drove 130 miles an hour on I-70 in Emery County. KSL.com reports a deputy tried pulling 21-year-old Brandon Jessup over, but authorities say he took off and led them on a 50-mile chase, hitting 130 miles an hour at one point. Police eventually spiked his tires and took him into custody. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Police in Los Angeles are investigating a shooting and the hijacking of a bus. The suspect forced the bus driver to drive from South Los Angeles into the downtown area at gunpoint. Los Angeles Police Department Deputy Chief Donald Graham says a spike strip was successful in stopping the bus. A SWAT team rescued the driver and a passenger.
My understanding from talking to the leaders of SWAT is that he surrendered immediately, and there was no use of force at the end of the proceedings.
One passenger was found shot inside the bus and later died of their injuries. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 151 now. We're at 42,057. Coming up, a beautiful and warm day in store. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02. Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
This is the day of the big sale at your gift shop.
Welcome in.
So this isn't just a big day for your business. It's a big day for the network keeping it all connected. That is, if it can handle the pressure.
Next in line, please.
So is it possible to get business internet you can really count on? It is. With 99.9% network reliability from Comcast Business. It's like this neat little bow.
Do you like that gift wrap?
Really ties it all together. Reliable internet for your business. It's not just possible. It's happening. Comcast Business. Powering possibilities.
Switch to Comcast Business and get started with reliable internet and advanced security for $49.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Plus, ask how to get up to a $500 prepaid card with a qualifying internet package. Don't wait. Call or go online to switch today. Offer ends 10/13/24. Restrictions apply. New customers only with 150 megabit per second internet. Eco bill and auto pay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After 12 months, regular rates apply.
Are you within 5 years of filing for Social Security? Get this. 96% of Americans forfeit an average of $111,000 in Social Security income. And it's all because they filed for their benefits at the wrong time. Learn how you could avoid this with a free, customized Social Security analysis from Boss Retirement Solutions, 5-time winners of the Best of State Award. If you've saved more than $200,000 for retirement and have not filed for Social Security, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. You know, for some people, filing for Social Security early could result in more net income in retirement. Discover how you could get the most income from Social Security. Call 801-896-9622. 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, we still have a bit of delay southbound I-15 in Utah County. This is making your way from Pleasant Grove into Orem. We had crashes there earlier, but those have long gone, so I'm not sure what's keeping traffic slow now. And if you're northbound I-15, there's a crash right at the University Parkway exit in Orem. It is in the Gore area, not really affecting lanes of travel. You still have a bit of slowing in the Salt Lake Valley as well, northbound going from Midvale into Murray, but overall now a pretty good drive everywhere else. Live at the Eccles presents Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat in concert, featuring Casey Elliott and the One Voice Choir, September 26th to the 28th at the Eccles Theater. Tickets at liveeccles.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
You can expect more summer temperatures this week. Highs around 90 degrees through Sunday. Today we will get up to 90, maybe above. Right now it's 64 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
There are oral arguments going on. It starts just a few minutes from now at the Utah Supreme Court. This one's over Amendment D, which a lower court judge voided Amendment D. We were live on the air when it happened. Just a few days ago. And we have a live reporter, Adam Small, up at the Utah Supreme Court as they get ready to both sides launch into arguments today.
If you're trying to remember, okay, which one's Amendment A, which one's Amendment D? Is there a B and a C? I heard Jeff Kaplan give a little hint here. He's like, this is how I remember it. Amendment A is all about the money. Amendment D is about the initiatives. It's a great way to remember it. So we're going to be talking about the initiatives. It's 9:06. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
Dave caught this story on News Nation, and it has to do with some newer polling by Pew Research. It says 81% of Americans say the economy is their top issue. And I looked at Dave when we were talking about this earlier, and I said, what do they mean by that? Is it your 401k? Is it the housing market? Is it the nation's economy? Is it the soft landing for a recession? I don't know. That's such a big topic. The economy is the top issue. Well, 9:35, we're going to get live analysis on how we answer phone polls or, like Pew Research polls compared to how we actually cast our ballots at the polls. Do we really take these top issues to the ballot box with us?
It's like saying my favorite thing to eat is food. Well, yeah, obviously. The biggest problem here, the biggest concern is the economy. Can we narrow it down just a little bit, folks? What is it? Let's narrow it down. Is it your wages? Is that what's concerning you the most? Keeping up with inflation? Is it the cost of eggs or gas? We got to narrow it down a little bit, folks.
Countdown. 2.
Home buying with a buddy. Younger Americans looking to split the cost of home ownership by buying homes with friends. We're going to go in depth on this at 10:35. Co-owning a home with a buddy. Your best friend. Your cousin. Is this a financial win or the fastest way to lose a friend and your financial shirt?
I was going to say it's probably buying it with your future former friend, because there's no way this doesn't end badly, right? But as one realtor said, and I love how he described it, said it doesn't really matter whether you like it or whether or not you think it's a good idea. He said it's simply going to happen. So we want to talk about how to make it work. How to make it work if it's simply going to happen.
Launch countdown. 1.
Well, first up on our lineup this morning, Amendment D. It's printed on your ballot. Recently, a Utah judge voided it. Now the state legislature going before the Utah Supreme Court to argue why it should not be voided. And believe it or not, it's not just Amendment D being argued in court today. Spoiler alert, there's also Amendment A being argued today.
They felt like the legislature in both cases was rushing these constitutional amendments on the ballot, that they were misleading the voters as to what they were really doing by their subject matter, the way that they described both of the amendments, and that they had inappropriately given notice to the public. That is to say, you have to give the public at least 60 days written notice, and they're claiming that that wasn't done either.
That 60 days, it really feels like a technicality. It was like, okay, we didn't do 60 days. It was more like 54 days. Does that count? And is this and should this be thrown out on a technicality.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The Launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
We'll clarify this with our legal analyst, Greg Skordas. But my understanding, Dave, of your so-called technicality is that's written in the Utah Constitution. 60 days notice. Published in newspapers all across the state. We'll get with Greg Skordas in just a moment. He'll give us the play-by-play of what he thinks will happen in the Utah Supreme Court this morning. We've also got a reporter, Adam Small, up there paying attention to the hearing. I'm hoping to get a live report from him during the show sometime today. But we're on Amendment D and A watch, and I want to set aside Amendment A for just right now. Let's talk about Amendment D because that's what's being argued before the Utah Supreme Court this morning. Now, remember, we were live on the air day when a lower court judge recently voided it, saying the way that it was written on the ballot was unclear.
And to be very clear about Amendment D, it's still going to be on your ballot. You will see it. So it's been voided. County clerks have been told, don't count these votes. So don't be surprised when you receive your ballot, which could happen just about any time now. When you see it there, you thought, oh, I thought that thing was voided. It has been, but it's still going to be on the ballot.
So here's the wording. Should the Utah Constitution be changed to strengthen the initiative process by prohibiting foreign influence on ballot initiatives and referendums, clarifying the voters' and legislative bodies' ability to amend laws, and if approved, state law would also be changed to allow Utah citizens 50% more time to gather signatures for a statewide referendum, and establishing requirements for the legislature to follow the intent of a ballot initiative. And where the judge weighed in, the lower court judge weighed in earlier this month with the plaintiffs in this case, she blocked Amendment D, voided it, saying that the legislative leaders had failed to accurately describe the subject matter in the text of the ballot question, and then also failed to publish the text of the amendment in newspapers across the state.
And it seems that as you were reading this, the real heartache, the heartburn came from the word, one word, really, strengthen. Should the Utah Constitution be changed to strengthen the initiative process? And there's many people that run initiatives. We have several that work here at KSL who say this does absolutely the opposite. It does not strengthen the initiative process. In their point of view, although the state legislature clearly thinks that this tightens up and strengthens the initiative process, but it's that word that has really caused a lot of this problem. I would be curious, Debbie, and when we talk to Greg Skordas, our legal analyst, I wonder, had that one word been removed, would all these problems go away? If you had just said, should the Utah Constitution be changed in this way regarding initiatives? You know, it's the strength in the initiative that I think really caused problems.
So you really just latched on to that one word this morning.
Yes, that's the one that stands out to me. And again, the ballots are printed, so you cannot change the wording at this point. And I wonder if that's the one word that tanked this whole thing.
And I suppose the word strengthen would depend on your point of view.
Eye of the beholder, right?
Straight ahead, our KSL legal analyst, Greg Skordas, on deck. He's joining us with what's at stake for lawmakers and for citizens during today's Supreme Court hearing. Greg's next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Hi, I'm Nate Orchard, the mayor of Sac Lake City with Advanced Window Products.
And I'm Jake, the other guy.
Are your windows old and inefficient and driving up your energy bills?
It's time for an upgrade. Our energy-efficient windows not only look great, but also help you save on your utility bills.
And right now, we're offering an incredible deal. $2,500 off when you purchase 10 windows or more.
That's right, $2,500 in savings to make your home more comfortable and energy efficient.
Plus, we offer a lifetime warranty on all our windows, so you can have peace of mind.
Don't wait. Call us today at 801-850-9100 or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free estimate. We also offer payment plans as low as $150 a month.
From our factory to your installation in 8 weeks or less. Call us today at 801-850-9100 or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free estimate.
Advanced Window Products, Utah's window experts.
An improbable path to 4-0.
Sione Moa, he wanted Moa, and he kept going all the way in for 6. Run of the year.
This week, BYU is back on the road for another Big 12 showdown. BYU Baylor pregame starts at 8 in the morning with kickoff at 10 on Utah's legacy home for the Cougars, KSL News Radio.
Want to keep your gas-powered engines running like new? Stable's proprietary formulas are proven by third-party testing to outperform the competition in keeping fuel fresh, preventing corrosion, and cleaning the entire fuel system. With Stable, you can have confidence you are doing the right thing for your engine's long-term health. Just pour into your gas can or fuel tank, then top off with fresh fuel. At every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable. Available where fuel additives are sold.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Diego.
Hi, Diego. It's Jennifer Coolidge. I just want to say your cashback match makes me feel so special. It really inspired me.
That's great. Doubling the cashback you've earned at the end of your first year is what we do.
Well, I'm doubling everything now. Double dating, double dipping, double feature, double header, double whammy. Basically double or nothing.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Hi, it's Julie, inviting you to come to Logan for Funky Fall Fun. Let me tell you about 2 huge festivals in one weekend, September 27th and 28th. Bring your whole herd to the Cache Valley Cheese and Dairy Festival Friday and Saturday. Free samples, live music, kids' activities, food trucks, and a tri-tip dinner Friday night. Workshops on gourmet cheese tasting and chocolate tasting, making charcuterie boards, how to crack a giant wheel of cheese, and more. Saturday only is the second annual Center Street Giant Pumpkin Festival. These ain't your mama's pumpkins. They tip the scales at more than 1,600 pounds. Watch professional carvers whittle away 300-pound pumpkins. Family scavenger hunt, activities for kids, pumpkin and harvest-featured foods, a beer garden. Music, dancing, more than 100 vendors and more. The drive is gorgeous and the temperatures are perfect. Get a hotel and get moving to Logan for Funky Fall Fun. ExploreLogan.com/fall. ExploreLogan.com/fall.
The Fed slashed rates. Now's the time to refinance or buy a home. Get your quote in seconds at BoxHomeLoans.com. No junk fees, no personal info required. Visit BoxHomeLoans.com before rates go back up.
What's better than 1 win? 3 wins. With Straight Savings, you keep your own phone, get 1 line for only $25 a month with real unlimited data, and get rewarded with a $200 phone credit after 12 months. It's a win-win-win. Head to Walmart or visit straighttalk.com today. Switch to Straight Talk. Less dollars, more sense. Straight Savings Plan enrollment requires compatible unlocked device and new line of service. Bonus device credit requires 12 months of active service. Offer ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. Taxes and fees apply. For network management practices, see Straight Talk's terms and conditions.
Every business faces challenges, but complicated, expensive, and uncertain shipping shouldn't be one of them.
With USPS Ground Advantage from the United States Postal Service, you can avoid all the noise.
No more unexpected surcharges, hidden fees, or complex rate structures.
It's just easy, cost-effective, and dependable shipping. Tune your business's frequency to success and turn shipping to your advantage. Learn how at USPS.com/advantage. USPS Ground Advantage. Simple, affordable, reliable.
Tim and Amanda.
One of the big differences, I think, between reading a story online and hearing it from us, Tim, is that, you and I are allowed to share a reaction. We need to be able to say, what in the world were they thinking? So that people listening will know. We feel it too. When we read a story that sounds ridiculous, we're right with you. It sounds ridiculous.
Well, we get caught up, I'm sure just like our listeners do sometimes, in death scrolling on social media.
Yeah.
And fact checking it on your own is tough. The great thing about tuning in every morning and starting your morning with us on KSL is you can count on the fact that when that information comes out of the radio in your direction, it comes from reliable sources.
It's already been fact-checked.
Right. And that's not always easy when you're getting it online. Finding who wrote it, when was it written, has it been updated with the current facts of the day that change sometimes minute to minute, not just day to day.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, Attorney General Sean Reyes' time in office is coming to an end, but the lawsuit about making his work calendar available to the public is still going through the courts. Second, SeatGeek is partnering with the Utah Hockey Club for tickets to games in this inaugural season. It's another blow to Ticketmaster, which Delta Center officials have been moving away from since the DOJ sued the company. And third, police are investigating a murder at an apartment complex in West Valley City where a man was apparently shot dead. Right now it is 64 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave, and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local stories.
We're talking Amendment D right now. We expect the Utah Supreme Court, if it hasn't started already, for the hearing to get underway about Amendment D. Now remember, a lower court judge earlier this month voided it. It's still on your ballot, but plaintiffs went to court, asked the judge to take some action. She did take action. She voided it. And now what today's hearing may accomplish at some point down the road is that Amendment D could be counted. It may not be counted. It depends on how the Utah Supreme Court sees this debate.
KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas is joining us right now. Greg, what do you expect to happen today?
Well, I think both sides will present their arguments, Dave, and the Supreme Court will be under the gun to get a decision fairly quickly because, as Debbie just indicated, right now the ballot initiative is on the ballot, or at least the constitutional amendment is on the ballot, but it's voided. So the Supreme Court's going to have to say one of three things: either take it off the ballot altogether, leave it on the ballot if they're already printed, but void it, or leave it on the ballot and let's vote on it and decide what makes the most sense. So they've got to make that decision fairly quickly because ballots are going out, depending on who you listen to, sometime in the next week or two. And so I think the Supreme Court's got to act fairly quickly.
Greg, I just want to bring our listeners who are tuning in right now up to speed on Amendment D and remind everybody what that is all about. It has to do with ballot initiatives, and the concern came from the plaintiffs who suggested that the language, for lack of a better word, was misleading, and a judge ended up agreeing, saying that it should be voided because of the way it was written on the ballot. So she blocked Amendment D. Again, has to do with the ballot initiatives. It's voided. It's still on your ballot. But the way the judge saw this is that legislative leaders had failed to accurately describe the subject matter and the text of the ballot question, and then also failed to publish the amendment in newspapers across the state. Will the Supreme Court lean into this argument about the failure to publish news in newspapers across the state, given that is, my understanding, is written in the Constitution, is required by the Utah Constitution to publish in newspapers across the state?
Right, and it's obviously a somewhat outdated constitutional provision, just as many are. I mean, the Constitution has been around for over 200 years, and things that were talked about and were active at that time have changed. So what the legislature is saying is that the Constitution providing or requiring that you publish in the newspaper in every county that has a newspaper of general publication for at least 60 days prior to the election doesn't make sense when most counties don't have a newspaper anymore. And the legislature has further claimed, well, it's on the lieutenant governor's website, and we've sort of talked about it. So the idea that the voters don't have knowledge about it doesn't make sense. But the plaintiffs are saying well, then change the Constitution, because the Constitution still requires that notice requirement. And the argument is you can't just ignore it just because the times have changed.
Greg, speaking of how times have changed, I'm just thinking, practically speaking, back in the days, the good old days, when you printed it in a newspaper, that was just one edition of the newspaper, and if that gets thrown away, then you're done. Now, I think the argument could be made, it's online. You could find it at any time, any person. There's far greater access, even if it is maybe on the obscure lieutenant governor's website. The access, the Google search, is far more comprehensive than what it was when that was originally written.
Right, and I think that's exactly the legislature's argument, that, hey, people do have notice, and so requiring that they get notice and in a way that doesn't even exist anymore, the newspaper publication in every county, makes no sense when the voters, exactly what you just said, Dave, can just go online, look at it any time. But again, the Constitution is what it is, and there aren't the framers of the Constitution didn't add, well, if times change, feel free to amend. They said this is the Constitution, and we can amend the Constitution. That's what Amendment D is sort of all about. But you have to do that, ironically, in a constitutional way.
Yes.
And so we sort of have a cart and horse issue here.
That's interesting. Okay, so the argument about the description of the amendment, let's talk about that, because I think the one word I think that has been as troublesome as anything, and let me just read straight out of the amendment. It says, should the Utah Constitution be changed to strengthen the initiative process? And then it gives all the reasons. It really feels to me, Greg, and tell me what your read on it is, the word strengthen really is in the eye of the beholder. That's subjective, and I think that's probably the one word that tanks this entire thing.
You're right, and I think a lot of people would look at this and say it actually weakens the amendment process, because it gives the legislature authority to change ballot initiatives. I mean, we've always felt that citizens have a right, if the legislature is not passing laws, to write their own. Now, that's what the ballot initiative process is all about. The legislature is saying, well, citizens don't know what they're doing, and they're biased by outside influences and other things that don't make sense, and so we have the right to tweak their ballot initiatives and make them consistent with Utah law. And that's where the push comes. And so they're saying, well, this is going to strengthen the process. The people that are supporting ballot initiatives are saying, actually, it weakens it significantly. And that's you nailed the word perfectly, Dave. That's the word that is at issue here.
We're speaking live right now to KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas as the Supreme Court in Utah gets ready to hear arguments regarding Amendment D. And Greg, I want to put a fine point on this, and then I want to move on briefly to Amendment A, because our understanding is that is in court later today as well. Probably no decision today on Amendment D from the Utah Supreme Court. They have to take these arguments under consideration, and then they'll issue their decision, correct?
Yes, but they've got to do that in very, very short order, because the ballots are going out quickly. And they did it fairly quickly on their last decision, which was related to Amendment D and the sort of the better boundaries question. They actually issued a decision very quickly, which caused the legislature very quickly to call a special session and propose to change the Constitution if they couldn't change the justice's mind. So, yeah, we're having this back and forth. It's going to continue. And hopefully we'll have some resolution soon, because these poor county clerks are anxious to get their ballots out.
And then speaking to Amendment A, which deals with the earmark, with the income tax being used for education, that is going to be in court this afternoon?
Yeah, that's in court, but that's in the trial court. So they're a step behind Amendment D. Amendment D, the trial court ruled against the legislature, and so the Supreme Court. This in Amendment A case, they're going to the trial court today, but she's just having what they call a status conference, which means she's going to give each side their deadlines. You get your brief in by this date, the other side gets theirs in 7 days later, and then we're going to have an argument here in probably 10 days. So that case is a little bit behind, but very, very closely related in terms of its context.
Greg Skordas, thank you so much for joining us, our KSL legal analyst.
And we are vying for a live report, hopefully, from KSL News Radio's Adam Small. Our understanding is that he headed up to the Utah Supreme Court this morning. Arguments scheduled to begin in the 9 o'clock hour. On Amendment D, we will keep our finger on the pulse of the developments during today's hearing up at the Utah Supreme Court. Straight ahead, new Pew Research poll says 81% of Americans say the economy is their top issue. Well, when Dave pitched this story, I looked at him and I'm like, is that our own personal economies? Is that the kitchen table kind of economy? We're trying to put food on the table. We're trying to pay the rent. We're trying to pay the mortgage. Or is that the nation's economy? Straight ahead, live analysis on how we answer these phone polls or these research polls compared to how we actually cast our ballots at the ballot box.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour today, the Utah Supreme Court will hear arguments on Amendment D, which, if passed, would allow lawmakers to change or throw out citizen-led ballot initiatives. State lawmakers got the issue on the ballot in time, but a lower court judge voided it after she believed the way the state worded the question on the ballot was misleading. The state appealed, and the high court agreed to hear the case. Arguments are scheduled to start right now. As campaign advertisements and political speeches increase leading up to Election Day, politicians will face very few, if any, consequences for lying or stretching the truth. KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas says lying is generally always legal because it's almost always unenforceable.
It's really hard to prove that someone lied and to say that at the time they made the statement, they knew they were lying.
He says that's why it's incredibly important for voters to do personal research into politicians' statements to discern the truth for themselves. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Forecasters expect Tropical Storm Helene in the Caribbean to strengthen rapidly and become a hurricane as it moves north across the Gulf of Mexico toward the United States. The National Hurricane Center has issued hurricane warnings for northwestern Florida's coastline and part of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. Forecasters say the entire west coast of Florida faces a possibly life-threatening storm surge. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 185 right now, but we're still over 42,024. Coming up, a little last blast of summer. It'll feel like it anyway today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
We are going to tell you all about fireplaces, but let's back into it a little bit. And how we're going to get into the fireplace discussion is because Master Electrical Service, they joined forces with Mountain Home Services. So they can take care of your electrical needs, your HVAC, your plumbing, you name it. Mountain Home Services can take care of it. And
fireplaces, that's right. It's just in time for you to have a cozy winter. Come on, you've been putting off getting that new gas fireplace or upgrading that old gas fireplace that you know needs to be upgraded. This is where Mountain Home Services and Master Electrical Service have teamed up to bring you like just a whole new ambiance to your home.
My mom has a wood fireplace in addition to the other electric fireplace and the gas fireplace. She's got all the fireplaces, loves them, and Mountain Home Services can help you choose just the right fireplace, the one that matches your home, that is beautiful, that is the right size, that will provide heat or ambiance, whatever you want to do. Mountain Home Services can help you with that fireplace. Give them a call at 801-543-2222. That's 801-543-2222.
Or look them up online at mountainhomeutah.com. Again, mountainhomeutah.com.
Nearly 70% of Utah's land is controlled by the federal government, severely limiting Utah's ability to actively manage and protect our natural resources. Our families, businesses, and communities know there's a better way. Utahns have been good stewards of our public lands for generations. That's why we're asking each and every Utahn to get informed, speak up, and learn more at standforourland.utah.gov.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. Did you know that we offer 3 distinct styles of gutter protection? Each one meant to handle a specific leaf problem. You might not even know there are different styles of gutter protection, but there are. And if you pick the wrong one, it could be a huge waste of money. Now, the big gutter guard companies won't tell you this. They try to sell you a one-size-fits-all gutter guard. And it could be completely wrong for the amount and types of trees and leaves you have. Not RGS Exteriors. We understand which kind of leaf problem needs which kind of gutter guard. We'll do an in-depth evaluation to assess the types, locations, and numbers of trees in your yard. Based on that data, we match your home to the right gutter guard. So don't risk wasting money on the wrong gutter protection. For a free evaluation and estimate, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
Set your appointment with the infamous barber now. Sondheim's Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, is coming to the Capitol Theater October 12th through 20th, just in time for Halloween. It's your turn to experience this deliciously gruesome tale of vengeance with razor-sharp lyrics performed on stage as the world-renowned Utah Symphony plays the dazzling score live. Tickets start at $21 at utahopera.org.
KSL News Time is 9:36. Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Heather Kelly?
Amanda, we've got a crash southbound I-15 in Provo. It's right at the exit ramp to Center Street. So as you come out of the S-curves, you're going to see a lot of slow traffic, and it's the right 2 lanes that are blocked approaching that exit ramp. So everybody's got to move over to the left, get around that crash, then you can sneak back over to exit at Center Street in Provo. But again, it's causing a lot of delay coming out of Orem into Center Street in Provo. And then we have another accident northbound I-15 right at the ramp that'll take you eastbound I-80 in South Salt Lake. That's over on the right shoulder, not causing too much delay. Every 3 hours, a person or vehicle is hit by a train. Utah Rail Safety Week is Monday, September 23rd to Sunday, September 29th. Learn more at utahoperationlifesaver.org. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Expect more summer temperatures this week. Today's high will be 90 degrees. Right now it's 68. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Just looking over some Pew Research here, Dave, and they did recent polling on how people are feeling in terms of how they'll vote. They said 81% of registered voters say the economy will be very important to their vote in this presidential election. And I always wonder when they say something like the economy, that feels so big to me. Like, is that the 401k? Is that the soft landing for the recession that we're all worried about that hasn't quite arrived yet? Is that interest rates? The economy. Does that feel as big to you as it does to me?
Absolutely. You are 100. You hit it, the nail on the head, because it's like saying, hey, what's your favorite cold treat? And you say ice cream. Well, okay, well, great. What kind of ice cream? I'm trying to buy. I am standing before the freezer with 30,000 ice cream products. Which one do you want? I want ice cream. Like, that is not helpful. That is not helpful. That's what it's like when I hear it's the economy. Well, what part of the economy? Mm-hmm. Is it the price of eggs? Is it gasoline? Because all of the above is a pretty tough thing to tackle.
But we've known for a long time that the economy, the big issue of the economy, is usually top of voters' minds, right? Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out.
I'll never forget what James Carville said back. He's working for Bill Clinton, 1992. Mm-hmm. He's the campaign chief strategist, and this is what Carville says.
Stay focused. Talk about things that matter to people. You know, it's the economy, stupid. Okay?
It's the economy, stupid. It's that simple on so many levels. We care most about our pocketbook. And if we can't afford things, then that's where the desperation and the stress sets in.
For most of us, I think our pocketbook and our family budget is usually top of mind.
Yes.
You can't go to the grocery store without wondering if you have enough cash in your checking account to cover it. A bill drops in. Like I got a couple of bills out of the blue just a few days ago. It added up to be $400.
Ouch.
Yeah, for doctor's visits that I'd forgotten I'd been to. And so immediately I'm thinking, all right, so I'm going to pay these when I get paid. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to arrange the budget to compensate for an extra $400. We're regularly faced with our own personal economic decisions. But what I wonder about is when we get to the polls, or I guess we sit at the kitchen table now and open a ballot that got mailed to us, do these issues really stay top of mind for us? Taylor Morgan, KSL at Night host, partner at Morgan May Public Affairs. And also, you have worked as a campaign strategist. You've been on the campaign trail with candidates before. If I tell a pollster the economy is the number one issue for me over the phone during a phone poll, when I go to cast my ballot at the actual polls, do I feel the same way?
I think you do, Debbie. Great to be with both of you. As I've been listening to your conversation here in this segment, I can't help but recall some very vivid memories of my Democratic mother and my very conservative father fighting over James Carville's famous 1992 quote at the dinner table back when I was in middle school. I'll never forget their conversation about the economy, and I think it was probably the first time my mom had really, really stood up to my dad, politically speaking, quoting James Carville at the dinner table, and that was quite the shock for all of us boys back then. But it's absolutely true, and I think if I'm the Donald Trump campaign, I am growing increasingly worried about Kamala Harris's performance among voters who rate the economy as their number one issue. Back at the beginning of the year, before Joe Biden dropped out of the race, according to the latest NBC News polling, at least back then at the time, Joe Biden was behind Donald Trump on the economy question by 20 points. And now, according to the latest version of that NBC News poll, Kamala Harris is only behind Donald Trump by 9 points, specifically when voters are asked how they think either the former president, Donald Trump, or Kamala Harris would handle the economy. So Kamala Harris is making incredible strides on the economy as an issue. And it's amazing to me, and not saying good or bad, just noting that Kamala Harris is not being tied at all to the Biden White House in terms of some of these issues. It is remarkable how she has really been able to create a fresh face and a fresh framing of her candidacy totally apart from Joe Biden.
Taylor, how do you do the mental gymnastics to vault over Joe Biden in his record when you're his vice president?
It's a great question, Dave. I think in hindsight, after November, a lot of us will look back on this election cycle and really spend quite a bit of time trying to understand what is happening right now. Kamala Harris is in a strong position right now, almost not necessarily out of luck, but out of circumstance, having kind of stumbled into her candidacy in a very, very strong position out of strategic blunders, in my opinion, at least, by the Biden campaign. And, she is benefiting from 3 years of being essentially absent in the public eye as vice president of the United States. Voters have a clear separation from Joe Biden and the administrations of Joe Biden's White House.
Which part of the economy resonates when people are standing at the ballot box? Are they thinking about their 401k, big picture, long term, or is it more immediate, the price of gas?
I think it's all of the above, Dave. But I will say what Kamala Harris has going for her right now is the fact that the Fed has announced a 0.5 percentage cut to the interest rate. That is helpful. Voters are feeling more optimistic about their economic futures. Voters are feeling more opportunistic about potentially moving, buying a home, those kinds of things. We will see potentially interest rates coming down on credit cards and other consumer loans. And at the same time, we do have gas prices trending in the right direction for voters. So again, the thing about the economy that's tough is it is the top issue really in any presidential election. It is a driving issue in terms of motivating undecided voters and actually persuading those undecided voters. But when it comes down to its real impact in those ways, it's a recency issue. It's all about the recency bias. It's not about what happened last year or the year before. It's about what is happening right now. And right now, Kamala Harris is benefiting from some good trends, economically speaking.
Taylor Morgan, thank you for joining us, a host of KSL at Night.
In the 11 o'clock hour, we'll go in depth with our Inside Sources host, Boyd Matheson, on Kamala Harris unveiling of her economic plan. Dave caught this story earlier this morning as we were preparing for our show, and Boyd is going to be joining us to help break that down in more detail at 11:05. Straight ahead, though, we want to drill down on a top issue that bubbled up for Utah voters in a recent survey. It's lack of housing. We'll go in depth on that next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hey, this is Dan the Laptop Man from PC Laptops. Myth. You might have heard that you need to spend a fortune these days to get a powerful computer. Correction. At PC Laptops, we wanted to prove that wrong. So here's the most amazing deal that we've ever done at PC Laptops for you in over 30 years. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SM3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage for $999. What else do you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Take one home today. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited, because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $999, PCLaptops.com.
At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers, but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at kslnewsradio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
Every day, Cintas service reps help businesses get ready for the workday. They provide freshly laundered workwear delivered every week. Mats, mops, restroom and cleaning supplies. First aid and safety products to help your employees stay safe. They even test and inspect fire extinguishers and emergency lights. Cintas helps keep your business running smoothly. See what Cintas can do for you. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Hey, pet parents. With Progressive's collision coverage, you get extra protection for your cat or dog, because there's nothing worse than seeing your pet hurt. Like when you see their face after accidentally stepping on their tail, and you say, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Pickles." But as you kiss his nose and rub his little belly welly, you know Mr. Pickles is thinking, "You betrayed me." Anywho, Progressive pays up to $1,000 in vet bills if your pet is injured in an auto accident. Learn more at Progressive.com and watch where you step. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Collision coverage subject to policy terms. Not available in all states.
Joseph Smith was martyred. Nauvoo was in chaos until God called Brigham Young. Hundreds witnessed God manifesting his will. See 6 Days in August. Sneak peek September 26th. Tickets at Cinemark.com.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. I've got to tell you about my experience at Hale Center Theater, one of the opening nights for The Magician's Elephant. Now, I knew it was going to be a U.S. U.S. premiere. I knew this was going to be something brand new, but I wasn't quite prepared for just how charming this play indeed is. It's all about a young orphan boy who promised his dying mother that he would keep an eye on and watch out for his little sister. But where is she? Only the magician's elephant knows. You're going to love The Magician's Elephant. And I'll tell you, I'm used to spectacular things unfolding on the stage, but there is the exit of a major character that is simply magical, almost molecular. One of the most amazing things I've ever seen on a Hale Center Theater stage, and boy, that is saying something. Don't forget, we also have The Addams Family, still to come, Beauty and the Beast. Get your tickets now for A Christmas Carol. Go to hct.org.
Exciting news! Master Electrical Services has joined Mountain Home Services.
Imagine your team always looking and feeling their best in high-performance technical workwear. Cintas can make it happen. They have garments for almost every job imaginable. And with the Cintas Workwear program, you get freshly laundered garments delivered every week for everyone on your team. Great garments without the bother of laundry. That's a real perk for employees. Find out how Cintas can boost team image and morale. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Tommy! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
For the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky is asking for help to end the war against Russia, claiming Russia is going for the power plants in the country. Second, forecasters say they expect Tropical Storm Helene to strengthen rapidly and become a hurricane as it moves north across the Gulf of Mexico toward the U.S. It could make landfall as soon as tonight. And third, today the Utah Supreme Court will hear arguments on Amendment D, which, if passed, would allow lawmakers to change or throw out citizen-led ballot initiatives. Right now, sunny and 68 downtown. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We just talked about Pew Research, and it's research that shows that those who were surveyed, 81% said the economy is top of mind for them in this election cycle. And then Dave and I thought, well, what about Utah? Like, how are we feeling? And for that, we're going to turn to a Utah Foundation survey. We talked about this not too long ago, Dave. And voters here asked about, what are the top issues facing the state? Number 1, housing affordability.
This is very helpful because you and I were just discussing how difficult it is to take the economy and boil it down to what people are really feeling affected by. Is it eggs? Is it ice cream? Is it gasoline? Is it homes? Is it your 401k? The economy encompasses so many different things. It's why I love this kind of conversation because we've narrowed it down from the economy to this narrow sliver. Well, when we have a narrow sliver, which is the housing market, the affordability of homes, now we can address this, right? I can't address everything. We have to prioritize something. So when Utahns say my number one concern is the affordability of homes, okay, then we can attack it.
Not a few weeks goes by in my home when I don't hear from one of my daughters who are not homeowners about their concerns. Like, what do you think? Will I ever be able to afford a home? And they're in their 20s. And I wish I could say, yes, absolutely, you'll be fine. In a moment, I want to recite the headline to you that dropped in May about where Utah housing prices are going in the next 6 years that are eye-popping. We're talking 7 figures.
Wow.
I'm going to get to that in just a moment.
7 figures in 6 years.
This is what's scaring our children. And it probably our adult children, but our children are fearful that it's like grasping at ropes of sand, right? The more they save or the more they prep, the more they consider buying a home, the more that sand is just falling through their hands because the housing prices are going up and up and up.
And we're not going to address it right now in this segment, but in 45 minutes, I want to talk about co-ownership and different ways to look at owning a home. It's not the conventional way of, hey, I'm going to buy myself a home and live in it. We'll talk about co-ownership, and I wonder if that opens the door for one of your daughters.
The buddy system of home buying?
It is totally the buddy system.
Okay, look forward to that. So the Utah Foundation dug even deeper on how people are feeling about housing affordability. And let's remember, the average price of a home right now in Utah is about $550K. I think that's the one that comes with the avocado green toilet and the roof that needs to be repaired. You know what I'm talking about. They're bringing back avocado green. They're bringing it back. So $550 with a load of work to be done on it. So the Utah Foundation found that the groups that tend to be the most concerned, they really broke this down nicely into 3 separate groups about housing affordability, were those earning less than $40,000 a year.
And that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
The $40,000 crew, they're not going to get into a home. There's no homes out there available anywhere if you're making $40,000.
That sounds hopeless.
Quite honestly,
maybe
it is.
You have to, maybe the hope is relying on the buddy system, which we'll talk about to buy a home, talk about in 45 minutes.
In fact, recent research here in Utah makes a determination. Like, how much money do you need to make to buy a home here in Utah? You're not going to believe it. It's $130,000. You have to make $130,000 to buy an average home here in Utah.
Now, here's the huge bucket of people in this next category. It's like, gee whiz, that's just about everybody. Those younger than 65 are the most worried about housing affordability. So those are the younger generation looking to buy a home. That's also parents, I'm 57, parents like me, your age, who have kids that are coming up in they're getting up there in their 20s and they're looking to buy a home.
It reminds me of what Governor Cox said. He said, I want my kids to live close. I don't want them to live with me. And that's why it's priority 1, 2, and 3 for the governor of housing affordability.
And then the third category is renters. The renters are most concerned about housing affordability. And that makes sense. You're paying a lot in rent. Sometimes you're paying, probably more than 50% of your income in rent, because it's $1,600 a month for one, bedroom apartment these days, and you're not able to get ahead on a down payment to put down on a home.
Renters fight a couple of different things. Number one, they kind of fight, I'm just throwing away my money. Every month I'm just throwing away my money. And they don't fully understand. I certainly didn't when I was renting. I didn't fully understand how much home ownership costs. Not just the mortgage rate, the taxes, the fees, the escrow, the home repairs, the flooding that happens at 12 a.m. This kind of nightmare that happens over and over.
Mine
so
waits
I think
till 4. Mine waits till 4 a.m.
Yeah, 4 a.m. Yeah, right as your alarm's going off. You're like, oh, good. I could get to wake up to a leaky pipe. But I think renters sometimes they beat themselves up thinking they're throwing their money away. Let me tell you, folks, home ownership, not all it's cracked up to be, or certainly has as many, if not more, problems than renting and throwing your money away.
Just a lot of considerations involved.
Totally.
Yeah. So here's the headline that I think has some of the younger generation kind of feeling down about the potential for home ownership. And this is in the Cache Valley Daily. We talked about this when it came out a couple of months ago. And the headline is, Nationwide Study Predicts the Average Utah Home Price Will Hit $1.1 million by 2030.
$1.1 million? That's 6 years away, Debbie.
Do you ever think? As I remember looking for homes when I moved here as a reporter for Channel 4 News, didn't feel like I could afford to get into a home. But now I'm realizing how silly that was. I was maybe 23 years old when I moved here. And homes in the area I was looking, $54,000. $58,000.
Basically free.
That's a lot of money. I can't afford that.
Yeah.
And I passed.
And you're beating yourself up.
Well, I eventually got into one, but By then, the train had left the
Not
station.
for $54,000.
No. Look, Dave's got the buddy system solution for home ownership. We'll see if it's a solution. I do worry that you lose a friend and your financial shirt when you enter a contract with a buddy for a home. But that's in the 10 o'clock hour.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. The Utah Supreme Court is hearing arguments this morning on Amendment D. If it passed, it would allow lawmakers to change or throw out citizen-led ballot initiatives. State lawmakers got the issue on the ballot in time, but a lower court judge voided it, believing the way the state worded the question on the ballot was misleading. The state appealed. The high court agreed to hear that case. A paralyzed teen was able to reach her goal of hiking to the top of Mount Timpanogos thanks to a group of volunteers. KSL News Radio's Michael Commett reports.
13 men helped pull Emily Traveler, who suffers from a spinal cord injury, up the trail in an adaptive wheelchair. While they pulled, Traveler had to worry about temperature concerns and the effect the climb would have on her body. But when they reached the top, her mom Carrie tells the Daily Herald everyone on the summit, including other hikers, celebrated Emily's achievement.
It took the group 12 hours to hike up and down the mountain. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Tropical Storm Helene will likely be a hurricane by the time it hits the Florida Gulf Coast. Governor Ron DeSantis is telling residents to be ready to lose power when it comes ashore.
Folks have an opportunity to plan for that now. You still have time to make the preparations and put your plan in place today, but that time is running out.
DeSantis says residents in low-lying areas should also be ready to evacuate. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average sliding today, down 227 points right now. The NASDAQ, though, is up 19. And our KSL weather looks like warm and sunny through the rest of the week. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio. Sometimes the hardest thing is the first step to any journey. Going to sotaweightloss.com today, SOTA weightloss.com, and clicking on that button that says request a nutritionist callback. I worked with a nutritionist and still am. I mean, I've been in maintenance for 2.5 years. I lost 34 pounds, but you'll talk to somebody like Shawnee.
I love working here at Soda Weight Loss because I get to see every individual that I work with's lives change on a day-to-day basis. They go from not being able to play with their grandkids to playing with them, walking with them, getting off medications they've been on for decades, and it just makes everything fulfilling in life.
Everybody's looking for the quick fix, and some people out there are going for pills or they're going for injections. The bad news on the backside of that is you usually end up gaining that weight back plus some. Soda will make a difference. They'll help you keep that weight off. Find out how they can help you or somebody in your family. Just go to sotaweightloss.com, spelled SOTA, and it stands for State of the
Art.
Don't you love this time of year? Fabulous fall colors amongst Red Rock Views and Cedar Breaks in Dixie National Forest. You should take a drive where you'll no doubt enjoy 4 scenic highways connecting you to the most amazing fall colors you will ever see. Put the U back in Utah, because it's all about the journey you create. This fall, see you in Cedar City. If you like nature, start your journey with a stunning hike for the best scenic views and vibrant colors. Or how about mountain biking and OHVing? You will enjoy all the fun fall events, like the charm of an organic farmer's market. Be sure you include a visit to the best pumpkin patches in the West. And don't miss out on the annual sheep parade down Cedar City's Main Street, October 26th. You will definitely get it all this fall in Cedar City. To plan your journey and for Cedar City's updated fall color report, activities, and cool foodie places to go, visit cedarcity.com.
Jeff Kaplan.
When you're online, that's sometimes a source of fourth-hand information. Somebody does the reporting. Another website Googles, they find it, they rewrite it, and by the time you read it, you know the old game telephone. But KSL is a source of primary information. We have reporters on the street. They're out in the field finding out the details. And the difference between online and KSL News Radio, night and day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, crews are still working on several crashes along the Wasatch Front. One is southbound I-15 right at the exit to Center Street in Provo. Now, it has been moved all the way over to the right shoulder. All the lanes are open now leading to that exit ramp, so no more delays. You also have a crash on the ramp from northbound I-15 to head eastbound I-80 in South Salt Lake. That's over on the right shoulder, also not causing delays. And then if you're in the Cottonwood Heights Holiday area, if you are eastbound I-215, just before you get to the 6200 South exit, that's Knutson's Corner, you have another crash on the right shoulder, again, out of traffic, not causing problems. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Our KSL weather high is around 90 through the rest of the week, sunny days. And right now, we're at 72 degrees with sunny skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
My mom anxiety goes through the roof when I talk about this story. So bear with me. Can you imagine? Just imagine this. You wake up and your 10-year-old daughter's missing. Okay, does that not?
Yeah, it's over. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean.
Ulcer, instant ulcer.
You have no idea where she's at. Cops are combing the woods looking for her. Last time you saw her, she was getting ready for bed in her cute little Frozen pajamas. You know, Frozen. You know.
Let it go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Elsa.
And then, poof, she's gone. What do you think?
Kidnapped.
Yeah. It turns out, and this is a wonderful spoiler alert, they found her safely 1.5 miles from home. Like 24 hours later, in the woods, she had wandered away from her home while sleepwalking.
Sleepwalking?
Uh-huh. And I want to get into more details about when your child sleepwalks, the anxiety that absolutely just you succumb to as a parent. And if you've raised a kid who sleepwalks, you know where I'm at with this. We're going to take your live phone calls about it. I'm going to set that aside for just a moment, but in my head it's going to be spinning around because I also want to talk about this other angle, Dave, with you about how they found her. It was practically a miracle.
I was so interested in how they found her. I totally glossed over the part that she was sleepwalking until you said, oh, she was sleepwalking. I had no idea. But how they found her was so interesting to me, and I know we're going to get down to that in just a second.
Yeah. NBC News' Kathy Park spoke with a drone operator who put a drone up because the sheriff's helicopter, I think it was the sheriff's chopper, was flying over the area. You know, and they have all this fancy thermal imaging where but they could not figure out where this young girl had gone. The one thing they did know is that she was spotted on a trail cam away from her home, clearly, with no supplies. You know, she didn't have anything. She just had that cute little pajama set on.
Frozen PJs.
Yeah, wandering into the woods.
It's the heart-stopping moment. Rescue workers found a missing 10-year-old girl safe after a day-long search.
Yes, sir.
Louisiana officials say the young girl Peyton vanished after sleepwalking into the woods.
At that time, we didn't know what had happened. We had to think the worst. Maybe we didn't know, if she had been abducted.
Nearly a dozen law enforcement agencies and hundreds of volunteers were searching for the child when Arkansas-based drone operator Josh Klober decided to drive up 40 miles to help.
I get calls all the time, and this one, the lost girl in the woods. We were just trying to do the right thing. That thermal drone can scan about 160 acres an hour. Walking around the woods, just volunteers, there's no telling how long it would have taken.
After about 20 minutes of searching, officials say they found the girl asleep and curled up in the fetal position on the ground.
It's just amazing that other than some mosquito bites, that she was unharmed. Just in perfect condition.
That is absolutely incredible. And number one, thank you. Driving 40 miles out of your way to bring your drone just to see if you can help. What an unbelievable act of kindness by this individual. And now I'm asking the question, are we doing search and rescue? Are we doing this all wrong? We're flying helicopters when all we should be doing is flying little drones.
Well, maybe both. Be flying both. They said in the story, this is people.com. Everybody's covering NBC. You just heard from NBC News' Kathy Park. She was covering that. People magazine is covering that. They had the struggles initially getting some drones up, and I don't know why. Maybe, they had hundreds of volunteers out there, but you're thinking just ground the choppers and put the drones up?
Well, choppers cost anywhere from $600 to $1,000 per hour. This drone.
So make me an argument for the drones.
A couple $100, right? You have a drone, a couple $100. You fly it. It's an investment. You could have dozens, hundreds of drones for the cost of flying a helicopter for 12 hours or 15 hours looking for this child. I'm telling you, this is an incredible resource, and I don't think we're fully using it.
More agile.
They're very easy. You can cover
a lot of
more
ground.
areas. Yes. What did he say? You could cover 160 acres per hour?
Yeah.
Now, that's just one drone. Imagine if there were dozens of drones. I can't help but think if you had dozens or even hundreds of drones, volunteers that come out and they're searching and looking, these drones, especially these thermal drones, they will see animals. They will see deer or bobcats.
They'll see 10-year-old girls sleeping in the woods.
They certainly will see a 10-year-old girl sleeping in the woods.
Yeah. Well, imagine. I mean, that like the sheriff said, we thought the worst, kidnapping, but it would be the worst. I mean, think of the conditions being different. If it were, dead of winter, I don't know what kind of weather they face there in the community that she lives in, but
Louisiana
dead of winter,
wards.
Yeah.
It's probably toasty.
Yeah. In the winter. Yeah. I would, but think of it here in Utah. A child wanders away or somebody gets lost, or the weather changes. We have a lot of that. You go up in the mountains and it's sunny and 70, and then 2 hours later, some sort of a weird fall blizzard blows in. So the thermal imaging drone found her. She's 10 years old. The one thing that I thought was kind of curious about this is that they had to call in somebody from another state to do it. And granted, they were only 40 miles away, but they had to call somebody in from another state. So, and somebody with expertise on how to follow and track this thermal imaging to find this little girl. But they found her safely. The only thing that she had was like mosquito bites. She had been missing for 24 hours, wandered away from her home because she was sleepwalking. And you and I have talked about drones recently, asking why the Secret Service wasn't using those to swoop the perimeter of former President Trump's golf course to thermal image and snuff out spot the
would-be assassin.
The would-be assassin who was on the perimeter of the former president's golf course, kind of lying in wait for 12 hours.
I'm looking at drones right now. They're $150. That's how much they cost. If you want a super high-end thermal imaging drone, it's $5,000, and that's like top of the line. what kind of investment are you looking for? Like, this is something, and I'm looking at search and rescue, local police departments, even firefighters. Are we fully using the technology, the drone technology that is out there? Because this is a resource, and we should be investing in this in so many ways.
Straight ahead, let's go in depth on the sleepwalking angle.
For sleepwalking, that is when someone will actually wake up and, usually walk around someplace in their room. They don't usually go too far. But I have heard of people that did go kind of far, and you really do need to set up a system of gates or some kind of lock because of safety issues. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, children, if they're used to opening those gates or those locks during the day, they would be able to do it at night as well. So it would have to be something that
I, as a mother, have experienced a sleepwalking issue more than once. Moms, dads, if you've experienced a sleepwalking problem with one of your kids, give us a call. 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Tell us what happened and what you did about it. You share your story. I'll share mine next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
I've been talking about hard water for years and how miserable my experience with hard water was. I can't help but remember the scum on the shower walls, and I essentially needed a jackhammer to remove all of that. It's why I reached out to Connecticut of Utah and asked them to walk me through why soft water is so important. Because number one, I didn't want to think about it. I didn't want hassle. I didn't want to have to reprogram it. And they said, listen, we install it. We can set it up, and they set it up in just a couple of hours. And then all you have to do is throw a little salt in the bin every few months. Because Connecticut water softeners are so well designed, they use 2/3 less salt than other water softeners. So if you want your skin to feel fantastic, that's where we felt it the most in our family, is the soft skin. Go ahead and reach out to Connecticut of Utah, 801-576-8600. That's 801-576-8600. Or, of course, you can check them out online at softwaterutah.com.
In a big election year like this,
Trump called for a grand jury to investigate.
News happens fast.
Harris said she wants an assault weapons ban.
A significant paradigm shift for the Secret Service.
On the way to work, searching for lunch, or heading home, come here to catch up. We have you covered in the car at 102.7 FM.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Someone asked me the other day, you know how many devices the average home has connected to their Wi-Fi network? It's way more than I thought. I actually went home and counted how many connected devices I own. More than a dozen, all to keep me connected to the good stuff. Streaming, my gaming, all my interneting, you name it. Xfinity knows the number of devices we have connected to our internet is growing by the year. That's why they engineered their gateways to handle hundreds of connected devices. Hundreds. For real. Now through October 10th, get Xfinity Gig Internet for $25 a month for 2 years with unlimited data when you add unlimited mobile. Plus, Get Peacock Premium, a $7.99 monthly value, included at no extra cost, and ask how to get an eligible free 5G phone with Xfinity Mobile. Make sure your home Wi-Fi can handle everything you throw at it and then some. Click, call, or visit a store today. Xfinity. Bring on the good stuff. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account, equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Gig Wi-Fi requires Xfinity Gateway. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet after promo. Regular interest rates apply. Actual speeds vary.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. That's why our Lowe's Red Vest associates can help with game time decisions. Plus, use in-store mode on the Lowe's app to find what you need. Under pressure at home and want it soon? Order online by 2 p.m. to get it same day. Same day valid on eligible in-stock items and select zip codes only, subject to driver availability. Fees vary based on purchase. Exclusions and more terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
Tommy! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, police are investigating a homicide in an apartment building in West Valley. Second, the governor of Florida urging residents to be ready for a hurricane on the Gulf Coast. Third, Ukraine's president told the United Nations rogue countries like Iran and North Korea are helping Russia in the war against his country. 72 degrees, sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave, and Dujanovic.
If you are a parent of a sleepwalker, you might have felt that anxiety bubble up within you like I did when we were talking about that 10-year-old girl from Louisiana. Wanders away from her home, a mile and a half away into the woods, gone for 24 hours. Turns out that she walked her way into the woods.
It occurs due to partial awakening from stage 3 of NREM sleep. The sleepwalker is in a transient state between sleeping and wakefulness. Here, the motor system becomes activated, but the consciousness remains clouded. As consciousness is clouded, sleepwalkers generally have no recollection of their actions upon waking.
I've never experienced sleepwalking myself or my children. I have no personal knowledge of this stuff.
Well, you may have just been unaware because according to the YouTube channel Tiny Medicine, many kids 5 to 12 years old will sleepwalk, but sometimes they'll find their way back to the bed and mom and dad will never know.
Sleepwalking episodes can range from a few seconds to half an hour. Some people may go back to bed and sleep on their own, or some may wake up confused while still out of bed. This condition is common in children, especially between the ages of 5 to 12 years old.
I wonder what's special about 5 to 12 years old. So anyway, whether
I'm not a doctor,
I have no idea why that is, but 5 to 12 is especially troublesome because just like this little girl in Louisiana that went off, easily lost, was unaware when she went wandering off as a sleepwalker that she couldn't find her way back.
The drone found her, the thermal imaging drone found her. She's okay, a few mosquito bites. She was sleeping in the woods when she was found. She had her cute little frozen pajamas on. Of course, as a mom, I would have thought the worst. I've had experiences as a parent with a sleepwalker. And frankly, it's anxiety ridden because you worry about this very thing. I mean, they walk out the front door and they keep walking. And this was before they had, surveillance cameras and Ring doorbell cameras. I came up with a method. Actually, we did. Mom and Dad, we banded together to make sure we blocked the sleepwalker from leaving our home. Thank goodness. Hi, Mike.
Hi, guys. How are you today?
Good. Have you had a sleepwalker kid?
Wow, this hits close to home. And you just said something that triggered us. Just hearing you talk about this poor family from Louisiana, not only did you start off the segment by saying, imagine you have a 10-year-old girl. I have a 10-year-old little girl. And so that especially hits home. But it is something that I kind of knew before we had kids. So I was an intense sleepwalker when I was younger, up until I was nearly 20. And so I had a very strong feeling genetically that my wife and I might create one of me. So we actually had to do the exact same thing, because my parents would find me on the kitchen table with covers over the top of me because I had slept over on top of the table.
Yeah.
I'd slept in the middle of the living room. They'd find me outside on the tramp, just crazy places. So we installed those little locks on the doors.
Yeah.
On the very top, so they couldn't reach them at the ages where you were worried. And there was a few times where my middle child, my boy who's going to be 14 the end of this year, he went through a phase for a couple of years where we found him in wild places, sleeping on the stairs. He made it to the front door, and he was punched down, sleeping by the front door. And we assumed that it just, the lock stopped him from going out. So we don't know if we would have had a situation like this poor family from Louisiana, but so glad they found her and she's okay.
Mike, I know. I felt the same way when we read the story, and that thank goodness the drone went up and found her in very short order once it got in the air. But the part of the story that really rattled me was the sleepwalking angle, and we attached those locks too, which I was torn over because you got to evacuate for some reason, smoke in the house, whatever. Now your kids are locked in on this side. This stuff possessed me, quite frankly, as a mom, and it just made me a really light sleeper for a lot. I finally just started sleeping like through the night. Because you just worry about your kids all the time. That's how much we love them. And I won't point out which kid, but I have 3, and one of them was an occasional sleepwalker. And there was a time when we could not find this child, him, and I was on my hands and knees. Like I was just about to crack emotionally. And it was middle of the night. And if you have a sleepwalker kid, you know exactly what this is like. You cannot find your child. You cannot figure out what's going on. And you're half asleep trying to pull out of it. So you're not, thank goodness my husband, his dad is a cop, and he had his wits about him. And he's like, okay, wait a minute. We're going to make one more sweep of the house. And we find him behind a chair, curled up behind a chair. And why is it that they can curl up in the tiniest of little balls when they're like this? It's like you just don't. And
like
also,
they're purposely trying to hide.
I think in the panic state, I miss the obvious, right?
Yes.
I'm not thinking straight. But then we had another situation where it almost happened in a hotel. We used to take the kids to Lava Hot Springs a lot. It's fun. It's a quick getaway. We love tubing down that river, just for a night. And we were staying in one of those hotels, You know exactly, if you've been there, you know what hotel we're talking about. I mean, it's ground level. And we wake up and someone's trying to get out the hotel room in the middle of the night. I don't know, take a walk down Main Street. Here was the trick we used, okay, parents? We stacked up coolers in front of the door.
Coolers.
So someone's
some noise.
Someone's got to make some noise if they want to get out.
Like a cowbell around his neck.
Short of mama sleeping in front of the door, that was our answer.
Well, again, I just realized you definitely need cowbell. Just you hang a big old cowbell around their neck, and then it's like just dong is there.
Now we have doors that ding, ding, ding if they open up.
So that's
wake you
that's
up
helpful.
And ring doorbell
From a
cameras.
dead sleep.
Yeah,
Good luck.
Exactly.
Nathan in Pleasant Grove, have you ever dealt with a sleepwalker?
Oh, yeah. My son, who is now an adult and has children, he was a walker, and we were told, have him use the bathroom before he goes to bed. And we were even told to limit water ahead of time. And when we did that, he didn't walk. But one time, we were down in Moab, and we were on the second floor of a motel, and my daughter woke up, and my son was trying to get out the window, and he was about 8. Yeah. So we understand. We said, we called him by name. Do you need to use the restroom? Yeah. And he went and he did his thing and then slept the rest of the night.
Well, that's a trick I hadn't thought of, is that maybe they're wandering around looking for the bathroom. It's kind of jolts them out of a sleep. And it sounds like when they're sleepwalking, according to a pediatrician, Dr. Lori, I think it's Gara Matthews at Newton Wellesley Hospital, she said something, it's kind of like they are in an awake state.
For sleepwalking, that is when someone will actually wake up and, usually walk around someplace in their room. They don't usually go too far. But I have heard of people that did go kind of far, and you really do need to set up a system of gates or some kind of lock because of safety issues. Mm-hmm.
So those are great tips, and I guess realize that you're going to basically have to create a little bit of an obstacle course or a barrier. So at what point did you start sleeping okay and you stopped worrying about your sleepwalker?
I mean, never. When you have kids, you just never sleep okay, right? Do you sleep okay? Maybe you do. I didn't.
Sound asleep. Not a budge.
Well, you're just never really sure if they've outgrown it or if you've missed it in the middle of the night. Plus, kids, when you've got 2 or 3 kids, they're on a rotation to wake mama up because somebody's got a sore throat or a runny nose or they need a piece of water. They need a drink of water. What helped a lot was putting those little latches on the top of the door. But look, I also wasn't comfortable with that as a solution for the reasons I cited earlier. What if we had to evacuate? What if there was a problem with mom or dad and the kids just had to get out of the house? And they're 3, 4, and we had kids really close together. I mean, they were young together. So nobody was necessarily, 5 feet tall and able to reach that latch. But I think with today's technology, I'd probably sleep a lot better. I would have all the Ring doorbell cameras. I would have the alarm on the door. So every time
on the
somebody
windows
exits,
as well.
On the windows. But yeah, you start bolting windows and you start bolting doors, and you have to think of the other things that you need to red flag as well. So great conversation. Thanks for the phone calls. Mike and Nathan, appreciate it. And by the way, you can always use our text line if you don't want to talk to us on the air. We love hearing from you, though. 57500 is the text line. Straight ahead, this is Dave Stegman. He's taking over the show. Home buying with a buddy. Is this the fastest way to lose a friend or a big financial win?
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomis. Our top local story this hour, police investigating a homicide at a West Valley City apartment complex, 33rd South and 12th West. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has more.
Police are telling us it was a passerby that called them around 9:30 last night. They initially couldn't find anyone, but were flagged down and found the body of a man who they say appeared to sustain a gunshot wound. We are still waiting to learn the official cause of death. Police also haven't named any suspects or arrested anyone that we're aware of at this time.
Police say they believe this was an isolated incident. There's no ongoing threat to the public. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The president of Ukraine spoke this morning to the UN General Assembly in New York, and ABC's Stephen Portnoy has more.
Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia is 20 times the size of Ukraine, and it still wants to take over parts of his country.
More land, which is insane.
Zelensky told the UN General Assembly Russia continues to have its sights on his country's nuclear power plants, warning a strike could spark a nuclear disaster. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down sharply, 233 points on the day right now, while the NASDAQ is up 23. And our KSL weather, we've got sunshine and warm temperatures in the 90s. That's next. KSL News, 1032.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Whenever I talk about Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, it is so easy to simply focus on the steaks. After all, it's in the name. But Ruth's Chris Steakhouse is also famous for their other dishes as well. Other entrees like seafood and poultry. I love it too. At certain times of the year, they'll have specialty dishes, and they will be prepared to perfection. And then those side dishes that are just legendary. When Dee and I eat at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, this is what we almost always do. We love the asparagus and we love the potatoes au gratin. And don't forget to leave room for those desserts. They are just off the charts. We're so fortunate, and especially this time of year, driving up the canyon to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. We have 2 locations, one in Hotel Park City, and then with all the great events happening in downtown Salt Lake City, they're at 275 Southwest Temple. Your dining experience is waiting at Ruth's Chris.
Don't miss Utah Symphony's annual Celebración Sinfónica Festival at Marisa Bravanel Hall. September 27th and 28th, experience a lively concert celebrating Latin American and Spanish cultures. And on Saturday the 28th from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., stop by the plaza to find artisan crafts, grab a bite from local food vendors, watch talented dancers perform, and more. Tickets start at just $10. Visit utahsymphony.org/festival for details.
Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson. Our goal every day on Inside Sources is to help you divide the rage from the reason, elevate the conversation, connect the dots, and make the news make sense in your world. We have conversations with great thinkers, with great leaders, and great people who are just out there making a difference in the world. Now, we do talk about politics, but only so we can discuss society and culture. And then we explore society and culture so we can discuss principles and the people in America and the state of Utah who actually live them and apply them every day. We bring the best and brightest minds to the state of Utah, and we love to take the Utah model and send it out to our nation's capital and beyond. Every day on Inside Sources, you'll be part of that conversation. To help you understand things in a different way, we'll get you to think again about what you think you know, but most important, we're going to help you have confidence to have crucial conversations in your community and in your own home.
Join Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson, 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
We're into emergency traffic this morning. Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, this is due to a crash southbound I-15 right at the exit to 53rd South and Murray. Now, UHP had stopped all lanes of traffic for several minutes to get the vehicles moved out of the lanes of travel, and they were forcing a lot of the traffic to exit at 53rd South for several minutes. Now they just reopened the lanes about 30 seconds ago. Traffic is starting to move coming out of Salt Lake City through the Murray area. So hopefully these delays will clear out quickly. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
And we have sunny skies today on all through the rest of the week with highs around 90. Right now we're looking at 73 degrees with sunny skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Priced Out, housing, special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
This is Dave's moment to shine. He's going to try to convince us that it's his way or the highway when it comes to buying homes these days. With homes prices averaging $550K in Utah, Dave feels like the buddy system for home buying.
It sounds crazy. I get it. It sounds crazy. I'm giving you that one.
The buddy system for home buying is the best way to do things nowadays. And by the way, always as always, thanks so much to our partnership with the Stern team. They're awesome. They're supportive of our housing coverage, and this may actually work for some people. So if you are ever thinking about selling your home, the Stern team can help you with that. All you got to do is learn your home's true value in 30 seconds. Visit sternteam.com to find out more. Sternteam.com. Dave, give us your best pitch on the home buying buddy system.
There's a couple things going on. Obviously, this segment could also be alternatively named Buying a Home with Your Future Former Friend, because you know this is going to end badly. There's just no way to get around it.
Let's just pause on that for a moment. Let's just gnaw on that concept for a moment. Let's say your friend is a party animal and you're not. Now you're into a legal contract with them. You know, what happens if you never load the dishes in the dishwasher and your friend gets tired of that. Feels a little different than when you're married and do that. What happens if your friend gets married and wants to move their better half in?
Oh, what
all
if
the
you're a
things.
morning person and they're a night owl?
Yeah.
What if you're an introvert and they're an extrovert and they have their families over all the time? Right? But don't we deal with this all the time with just regular roommates? Like we deal with the same issues.
But you're not in a legal contract with them.
Now that's the key.
Okay, so I've spilled the tea on my heartburn with this, and I'm going to give you plenty of opportunity to talk me out of my Debbie Downer state of mind on this. Go ahead.
So obviously, let's get the bad out of the way. So instead of me convincing you, let me acknowledge everything you're saying.
You're so kind.
Absolutely, that is a worry. Now, if you buy a home with your friend, now you've got to figure out maintenance and repairs as well. Do you value one repair over the other, or maybe an upgrade, a retro, whatever it might be, and you can't solve them? Well, then what happens? The home could go into disrepair. What if you want to leave? What if you want to sell your portion of the home and move out? How does that go? And what's the appropriate price?
And they're
how
not
do you
ready
get out
to
of it?
sell?
Yeah, and you're not ready to sell. Could you be responsible? Say you got two people. I don't want to sell. You do want to sell. Well, maybe you're just selling a portion. And is there a market to say, hey, come buy half a house? Right? Well, what's the market for that? But here's what stood out to me.
And this is from a CBS morning website, CBS Morning's website. Millennials and Gen Zers embrace co-ownership to make homeownership dreams come true. And so what in this article stands out to you?
Well, it might surprise you that 15% of Americans have co-purchased a home with someone other than their romantic partner. So that could be a friend. About 11% of those that are being bought are friends. Largely, it's mom and dad. It's a brother or a sister that you're going in with. So
I think that could also be tricky, though, buying a home with a family member. That could present some trickiness to it. But that's interesting. I didn't think it was going to be that high. 15%. That's
15% is a chunk. And part of the reason this is happening, and what one realtor said, I thought really resonated. He said, whether you think it's a good idea or not, it's simply going to happen. So let's look at, if it's simply going to happen, what are some of the ways you can prepare for success instead of just seeing all the negatives to it? Because right now the alternative is not buying a home. So you either make a sacrifice, it's not the ideal conditions, it's not what you had built up in your mind that you have to share a home with somebody, but if you want to start building equity, then it's simply going to happen. And this is a way where many millennials, Gen Z, are able to get into a home. And then maybe that second home, once you've built up some equity, can be flipped or turned, whatever it might be, and then you don't have to buy a home, with your buddy the next go around. But I think this is really a unique way of getting into a home, start building equity, and share some of these costs.
So the upside, if I'm leaning into your pitch, is I'm building equity. I don't have to deal with the landlord telling me they're going to raise the rent $200 or $300 a month, and I'm on my own trying to cobble that extra money together every single month. Mortgages usually stay. I mean, generally mine can fluctuate up and down like everybody else's, depending on what property taxes do.
Right.
But so, okay, you're getting somewhere with me. You're making some progress here. Those are good. Those are two good things, because if you eventually said, like, let's say you put a timeline on when you were going to sell, you don't want to sell when the market's horrible. No, homes aren't moving. But let's say you did that, and maybe you build enough equity that you split the equity, and then you go buy your first homes on your own.
There's several things that really play well into this. Number one, being a homeowner, I think the biggest shock for me was the cost of running a house. The water heater is going to go out. You may need to replace a dishwasher, and some of these appliances can be expensive. How about a roof? It could be thousands of dollars. And when you have somebody else to help defray those costs, shoulder the costs of owning a home, that is far more appealing. You can also decide, listen, there's going to be 2 of us owning a home. Maybe there's 4 bedrooms. So we get a couple of roommates as well that are going to help shoulder some of that as well. But they're not owners. They're just roommates. So there's ways that you can help pay and subsidize for what is, quite frankly, a very expensive home right now. On average, homes are about $550,000 here in Utah. Well, you might be able to pay or shoulder the burden of $250,000 or $275,000 worth of a mortgage. You just can't shoulder $550,000. So you can say, yeah, I could pay for that portion. Now, the key here, and one of the tips from this article, and an article also that I was pulling from Fortune magazine, was make sure that there's due diligence. Do you know this person? Are they reliable? Have you shared perhaps some sort of investment on a smaller level before? That's a good tip. So make sure you really know the person that you're getting into business with. Number 2, shared bank account. That was an angle that I hadn't really thought about.
Can we talk about that a little bit more when we take phone calls, the shared bank account angle?
Yeah, because normally you think
more about that.
And there's a few other tips I'll get into in just a few minutes. Yeah, but there are some tips, I think, because if it is inevitable, which quite frankly I think it is, make sure you check these boxes before you jump in.
Okay, well, I want to hear more about the shared bank account concept straight ahead. I don't know about even co-owning a home yet. A shared bank account? What's that all about? Dave will tell us straight ahead. Special thanks to the Stern team for helping us bring our listeners up to speed on everything you need to know about the housing market. But we want to take your calls on buying a home with a buddy. 801-575-TALK. 801-575-TALK. Have you, would you, could you buy a home with a buddy? Look forward to your live calls next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio. With interest rates coming back down, I bet the real estate market will pick back up in 2024. We're already seeing that, Tim.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter how the market is doing when you have the right team. So if you're looking to sell your house, now you want to downsize or you need more space, you need the Stern team.
The Stern team has taught us, I can think of a handful of things that I would worry about if I was buying or selling, but there are 100 details that are involved in selling a home, and they have lots of people that are handling every detail so nothing falls through the cracks.
And they have so many different options. I mean, I worked with Cammie there at the Stern team, and she was awesome. But if you need an instant cash offer, you can do that. If you need to buy before you sell, you can do that. They have flexible fees.
They also have people that they represent that are looking to buy a home, so maybe they can make that perfect connection within the Stern team.
So don't put off selling your house or buying a house because you think the market isn't just right. The market is right with the Stern team.
Go online to sternteam.com or just Google the Stern team.
Amendment D being heard right now at the Utah Supreme Court. Amendment A regarding the constitutional earmark to fund education here in Utah using income taxes also being heard in court this afternoon, right around 2 o'clock. So make sure you tune in to Jeff Kaplan's afternoon news this afternoon from 3 to 7. He'll have updates on all that happened in court today on both amendments.
Most people that come in have tried many different things to get themselves out of pain, and nothing has worked for them. And eventually they make their way to us, and that's when good things happen.
You're listening to Alex, an arch support specialist at the Good Feet store.
A woman came in complaining of extreme pain, and she was concerned that she wasn't able to play with her grandchildren. I fitted her for the arch supports, I put them in her shoes, and she took a couple steps and she started crying because she knew then that she would be able to begin doing the things that she wanted to do do with them.
For over 25 years, the Good Feet store and our arch support specialists have been helping folks live the life they love without foot, knee, hip, or back pain getting in the way.
I called her a week later. She thanked me profusely. She was able to do those things that she wasn't able to do before, and she had a new lease on life. Those kind of Good Feet stories happen all the time. It's fantastic.
Try them for yourself. Stop in for a free fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
The Good Feet store. Call 1-800-NEW-FEET or visit goodfeet.com.
Paid for by government. Did you hear? A secret hoard of 1932 $10 gold Indian coins have been found. These gorgeous 1932 gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck, and less than 200 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling the secret U.S. gold coin discovery a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and you can own a piece of the hoard. When you call, you are guaranteed a 1932 dated gold coin featuring Lady Liberty with an Indian war headdress and a majestic eagle. With limited availability, you must call now. These 1932 dated gold coins are still in uncirculated condition with brilliant luster. That is 92 years of history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-495-6468. Call now and you'll receive a free bonus over a $55 value free with every order. Call 1-800-495-6468 now to secure your 1932 $10 gold Indian coins before they sell out. Don't wait. You must act fast. Call now.
September means it's time for Any Hour Services free furnace sale. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and as summer comes to a close and falls right around the corner, the weather gets, well, perfect. And when the weather's perfect, people need a little extra incentive to replace their heating and cooling system. That's where Any Hour Services free furnace sale comes in. For the month of September, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. And there's no catch. There's no raising the price on the air conditioner first. There's no making you buy the most expensive air conditioner to qualify. There's none of that. There's just a desire to keep our technicians working while the weather's mild and a genuine appreciation of you for helping us keep them busy. So if you've been thinking about replacing your old furnace and air conditioner and want to know exactly how much you can save during our free furnace sale, call Any Hour Services today and schedule a free estimate. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, police in West Valley say a homicide in an apartment complex was a targeted killing. No one else is in danger. Second, Ukraine's president told the United Nations Russia's targeting of its nuclear plants could set off a disaster. Third, it turns out lying politicians are protected by the First Amendment. 73 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
As always, thanks to the Stern team for your support while we cover housing issues and possibilities in Utah.
Priced Out. Housing. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
And Dave's pitch could make homeownership a real possibility for the younger generation. He's talking about the buddy system when buying a home. We're going to take your live calls. Have you done this? Would you? Could you? Should you? 801-575-TALK.
I would totally do it. Absolutely, I would do it because it makes so much sense. Right now, we're just pouring money into rent, especially when you're young. You're just pouring thousands of dollars into rent. So if there is an option to buy, even if you have to navigate some hurdles and some headaches and possibly ruin some friendships, I think this is smart. You can do it in a smart way, and you should do it in a smart way, but I think you should do it.
You said something before the break about a joint bank account. I want you to, can you sit on that for just a moment? Let's get to our live calls. You are also over there madly looking up, like, what are some of the, is it legal to do in Utah? And what are some of the pitfalls if you do it? So let's sit on that for just a moment. And, Neil from Farmington, maybe you can tell us, because it looks like our producer says that you have bought a home with a friend and things are working out.
Yeah, a joint bank account is a great idea. By doing that, each owner has transparency into everything that is going on financially with that property. So you can have the mortgage auto drafted, you can have your taxes,
and your insurance, and then any repairs that you need, or any like salt for the water softener. You can run all of those expenses if you each have a credit card through that joint account, and it just eliminates a lot of problems like, oh, hey, did I reimburse myself for the expense? Oh, well, no, that you don't reimburse for expenses. You just do everything through the checking account. So that would be my advice.
So do you each put in a little bit of money from each paycheck? Is that how to cover the expenses, or do you run it through a credit card and then pay? How does that just give us an idea?
No. Yeah, no. The best way is to fund the account equally. So any money that goes in, you just make sure that on the same day that you both put the money in, the exact same amount. So the problem is you're going to forget things, and you have to go back and say, now what was that all about? And by making all the deposits equally on the same day, and then having all the withdrawals come through that checking account, I think that helps eliminate a lot of problems. It's not like there aren't disagreements on, well, hey, should we coat the garage floor? Should we buy a new couch? You can have that, but usually you can power through those. The biggest problem I think that people get tripped up on is, hey, did somebody steal from me? Did somebody, is my partner taking advantage in any way? And having that joint checking account, I think, goes a long way to eliminating that.
Neil, since you are apparently the perfect person to talk to, like you are the dream caller in this scenario. So thank you so much for calling. What do you do if you want to sell and your partner doesn't?
The best thing to do is to draft an operating agreement up front that spells out, all kinds of things. And, you just try to anticipate every type of thing that can happen. You're never going to anticipate everything, but there's forms online that you can find. In the case with my partner, we have a right of first refusal. So if one person wants to sell and the other one doesn't, then you get an appraisal, and then you can negotiate based on that appraisal what the buyout price would be for the other partner. Now, if the other partner can't afford to buy it out, then you kind of have a problem, because the potential buyer would have to be willing to enter into replace you as the partner in that partnership. And typically, it's a friend or family member, and if somebody just coming in new may not be willing to take that ride. Very few people, I think, would be willing to take that ride without having, a lot of confidence and trust in that other person. So, the best case is, the partner buys you out at a fair price, or the partner has another friend or another family member that would be willing to step in and take your position.
Wow. Great information, Neil.
Neil,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling. Jake in Magna. Hi. Would you go with the buddy system for buying a home?
I personally wouldn't. I mean, it's great information with that previous caller, what he shared. I think that there is just a couple of things and I think that there's a reason why there's only 15% currently doing it. One being that just the level of risk and complications and the greater likelihood of legal complication when somebody disagrees with you in that situation, I think would just be really high. Because like the previous caller said, very few people are probably willing to go the route in the event that one person sells. And I've been in situations where I roommate with my best friend, and you don't realize that sometimes when you have best friends, you're best friends with them until you live with them, and that can be said amongst family members too. And a couple of interesting data points with that is, if you want to sell your home in Utah, you're committed to at least 2 years after buying a home to stay there and not to sell just for the sake of gaining escrow. I believe that's a state requirement that you have to live there for at least 2 years, or otherwise pay a $20,000 fee for an early sell. So there's some legal complication you have to account for within that. And say that person you're living with has a child, has a new baby, and you're in that close proximity where you're like, okay, well, now is this person I'm living with going to try and shove me out because they don't like hearing a crying baby all the time?
Thanks, Jake. I know you brought up some of my concerns as well, and Dave has a list of other things that he's been looking over.
Well, I think that operating agreement is absolutely essential, and you need to be able to think about a lot of these different scenarios, and you can go online, and there's a lot of tools online and tips. People will say that very thing, like, hey, if you have a crying baby, what is my exit strategy, and what can I adapt and change? And I think a lot of that stuff can be worked through, but some of the tips that if you were interested in this joint tenancy, the co-ownership, so to speak, so where here in Utah you can have up to 4 co-owners of a property. So this is happening here in Utah. A trial run with something less expensive than a house is always good. You know, perhaps you can rent jet skis or do something, make a small investment before you go all in and see if you can actually work together. So the trial run on some level, I think, is very wise. The shared bank account, as Neil said, that just makes all the sense in the world. The operating agreement is absolutely key. Make sure a lawyer looks through it, and also the exit strategy. Now, mostly co-ownership, you can't sell the home without all parties agreeing to it. That's in state law here. So there's many things you have to jump through, but it also, I think, is a great way to perhaps get into your home.
Yeah, the buddy system for buying a home. Dave's pitch. Thank you, Dave.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. The Utah Supreme Court hearing arguments this morning on a proposed amendment to Utah's state constitution. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
State lawmakers called for a special session last month to put the question on the ballot, but not long after, a lower court judge voided it, meaning votes on it would not be counted. The state took their case to the Supreme Court, who agreed to hear their case.
Amendment D would allow the legislature to repeal or change any ballot initiative passed by voters. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. It's common for political candidates to accuse their opponents of lying, but are there any legal consequences when a candidate stretches the truth? Here's KSL News Radio's Alessandra Gurr.
Free speech is protected under the First Amendment of the Constitution, and that includes some lies and stretching the truth by politicians. What it does not protect is defamation or perjury. Some reasons why politicians face few, if any, consequences for stretching the truth is because it's hard to prove if someone knows what they are saying is a lie when they say it, and because it happens so often.
This means voters do need to be willing to go out and do their own fact-checking on politicians' statements. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down now 284 points on the day, and the NASDAQ has slipped into negative territory, down about 12 points right now. And it looks like we'll have sunny skies through the rest of the week. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Tommy! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Sweet chocolate reward. Sweet chocolate reward.
This is not just the sound of someone picking up a sweet treat at Walgreens.
This is the sound of someone picking up a sweet treat right after receiving all their vaccines in one trip. This is the sound of treating yourself, because you protected yourself.
Stop by or schedule both your flu and COVID-19 vaccines today and grab yourself a sweet treat while you're at it. Vaccine subject to availability. State, age, and health-related restrictions may apply.
Are you within 5 years of filing for Social Security? Get this. 96% of Americans forfeit an average of $111,000 in Social Security income. And it's all because they filed for their benefits at the wrong time. Learn how you could avoid this with a free, customized Social Security analysis from Boss Retirement Solutions, 5-time winners of the Best of State Award. If you've saved more than $200,000 for retirement and have not filed for Social Security, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. You know, for some people, filing for Social Security early could result in more net income in retirement. Discover how you could get the most income from Social Security. Call 801-896-9622. 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
Tim and Amanda.
One of the things I love about radio is that we are all hearing it at the same time. One of the differences between that and just scrolling on your phone is that I don't know when that story was posted. Maybe an hour ago, maybe 3 days ago.
To your point about who wrote it, where did it come from, and is it dated information, our hope every day is that we can provide a more broad spectrum of information on a single topic that you can then take and make decisions on your own.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, things are moving along pretty well now all across the Wasatch Front. No delays on I-15 throughout Utah, Salt Lake, or Davis counties, either northbound or southbound. Just a reminder, you are going to run into plenty of construction barrels, including Legacy Parkway northbound from Centerville to Farmington. Bangerter Highway always has off and on delays through 9800 south, as well as up toward 4100 south, where we also have lane restrictions. And Mountain View Corridor's got a bit of congestion through the Daybreak area. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Warm and sunny with highs around 90 for the rest of the week. And right now we're at 77 degrees with sunny skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
We were just talking about a Pew Research poll earlier in the show. 81% of Americans who were polled said that, look, I'm going to vote with my pocketbook. The economy is the most important issue. Well, as luck would have it, Kamala Harris is getting ready to talk about her economic plan, and nobody better than Boyd Matheson to help us break that down.
I think finally, I'm a little bit relieved. Reuters put this story out, and it gave the specifics of what has been up to this point, just very general. I mean, very general. I'm going to fix the economy. Awesome. How? So finally started laying out the plan of tax breaks and housing and price gouging, some more specifics of what she is going to try to attack. Boyd, number one, it's taken a while to get to this point. Is she finally starting to feel the demand for specifics on these plans?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Dave. She has been starting to feel more of the pressure to come out with something. We also found out today she's likely to sit down for a sit-down interview. It's with MSNBC, so friendly turf for her for sure. But she's not done very many of these, and people are counting down the days to Election Day. And so I think they are starting to sense from a campaign strategy standpoint that they've got to start doing more. They rode the idea wave as far as they could. They're feeling like they have to put some more on. Although I will say a lot of the things that they've put out in terms of economics are pretty blue sky, shoot the moon. The price gouging one, that she's going to do on day one, is a pretty interesting fantasy land. It's really not a serious proposal. And serious economists will look at it and say, anytime the government is in on the price control thing, it never ends well. And there's actually a really interesting historical piece. So this applies to where we are today. So it was 1946, and in 1946, the price of beef, started to skyrocket, and it was an election year, and so the voters were really angry about the price of beef, and so the government jumped in and said, we're gonna not let them gouge you. We're gonna put in price controls. So they put in all these very heavy-handed price controls. And great idea, best of intentions. What could possibly go wrong? Well, the ranchers decided that's not worth it for us to sell, and so they stopped. And so what happened? The price of meat went up further because there wasn't any.
There's no supply.
It was scarce. And so finally, they backtracked and took it back down. But it was too late. They ended up losing the election because of it. So that's an interesting space for Kamala Harris. If she's going for some of these very populist things of, I'm going to take care of the price of meat, or I'm going to, get you a house, or I'm going to do this. Some of these things that are really tough to execute in terms of government control, they rarely work in the end, but they are great to at least take the heat off in terms of, hey, we're putting some proposals out.
Tax on the wealthy. Let's start with that. She, according to Reuters, saying that she's echoed President Joe Biden's promise not to raise taxes on households that earn less than $400,000 a year. And then they go on to talk about unrealized capital gains, and it would affect those making more than $1 million a year. She proposed raising the long-term capital gains rate when you sell like stocks. So it would raise it to 28% from 20%. Yeah. But you got to be at that $1 million a year mark.
Yeah, but think about that in terms of small business owners or people who own small to medium-sized companies, privately owned. Those folks are going to have more than $1 million go through. If you're a small business owner, do you want to have a tax on unrealized capital gains? Mm-hmm. I know we don't want that for any of us individually, but you start looking at some of those that have an LLC or do it as a sole proprietor. That's going to impact a lot of middle-income people in the end. And so, again, it sounds great on the top, and we're going to go after the rich. That sounds great, but you got to get underneath and look at the dollars and cents of it. Because sometimes that ends up hurting the very people that you say you're going to help. So I think that one's an interesting one. Unrealized capital gain, everybody should be nervous about that, all of us. Because if it starts with people making $1 million, we'll all be doing it really, really soon.
I've seen some reports where it's $100 million on the unrealized capital gains, but some of the concern is that that's the starting point. Yeah. Then it's 50, then it's 25, and it's a little bit of a slippery slope. But I think specifically on the unrealized capital gains, it starts at the $100 million and above. Let's talk about corporate gains in corporate taxes as well, because that was one of the big things that President Trump pushed through. There was a corporate tax rate, I think it was at 35%. He dropped it down to 21%. So this was an absolutely massive corporate tax cut. And she wants to raise that back up to 28%, I think it is. So some of the benefits and the negatives that you see when you are taxing or cutting taxes for companies.
Yeah, most of that, of course, is going to get passed on to the consumer in the end, because companies are going to do what they need to do to make the bottom line, and then they're going to pass everything else along. So whether it's tariffs, which former President Trump has been very high on lately, that gets passed along to consumers. A lot of the things that Kamala Harris is talking about is going to get passed on to consumers. And so it's important to, again, realize good bumper sticker slogans, good campaign messaging is one thing, but you got to look underneath the numbers and who's that actually going to hurt in the end? Because a lot of times we think, we're doing this, but the unintended consequences are the ones that cause businesses to contract. So there's less jobs, less investment, and less expansion. So all of those things, again, as we look at everybody's economics, whether it's Kamala Harris or former President Trump or anybody else, you got to look past what's the headline of it, what's the underneath nuts and bolts of it.
We're talking to Boyd Matheson right now about Kamala Harris unveiling her economic plan and the different components involved in it, and this child tax credit, which she has talked about.
Yeah.
She spoke about it at the debate. She's talked about it on the campaign trail. And bringing that up to as much as $3,600 per child, which right now, is it still at $2,000?
$2,600.
$2,600 right now. I don't know because I don't enjoy this anymore. My kids are too
aged out.
old. And then
Kids
she's also
age out.
talked about a $6,000 like one-time bonus credit for families with newborns. And remember when I gave birth, we were sad like all the other families are with the expenses of a newborn and finding out that the hospital bill wasn't quite, as covered as we thought it would be by our health insurance coverage. So what are your thoughts on that component of this?
So I think the child tax credit is the one that probably has the broadest bipartisan support. And of all the things that she's proposed, the one that has the best chance of actually becoming law is probably that. She's talked about it. Former President Trump has talked about it. Congress has talked about it. So I think that's in terms of being in the realm of possibility of all the proposals out there, that's probably the one that has the highest likelihood if she were to be president to actually getting through.
And as popular as that idea is, and we've had many Republicans in our in Congress pitch the very same thing, right? And increase, so as you were saying, the bipartisanship. But again, this is a reminder, this just lessens the amount of money that the U.S. government is taking in. If they are increasing these tax credits, and I'm paying less and less taxes, are they making equal cuts to programs? Because all this does, as much as it benefits me personally, is it increases the debt even further.
Yeah, and it also, remember, some of these things also put additional cash into the market, which creates inflation. So all of these things you have to look at. Who's paying for it? How's it being paid for? Are we cutting a program that's not working in order to do this one? I think that's always a nice thing to actually look at. We rarely do that. We usually just add more programs. We don't worry about cutting any on the back end.
We've also talked a lot about the decreasing birth rate in this country, and how do we incentivize, if we do incentivize young couples from having more children. I'm not in those discussions anymore because I am so far removed. My kids, as I said, are in their 20s, but this is an issue facing parents. So if I don't know if government plays a role in that at all, but is this where it incentivizes?
Yeah,
like $2,000 anymore doesn't sound like enough money. It just doesn't, right? Daycare alone is $1,000 or more a month.
Yeah, and so I think those kinds of things are really good conversations because you can say, okay, a family that raises a child. What that does, and they're the future taxpayers that are going to pay for the rest of us and social benefit programs on the back end, Social Security, and so on. And so I think there are great debates to be had there. So I think these parts of Kamala Harris's proposals, I think those are great. They're great to debate those and talk about those. I think to Dave's point, it's also important that someone say, we're going to do these three things, and in order to pay for those three things, we're going to get rid of these three things or four things. Because that's a different kind of conversation. And I actually think if either of these candidates were to say something like that, that would be a breath of fresh air. Now, and the reason they can't is because whatever they say they're going to cut is going to get weaponized. They say, "Oh, they're going to cut this program." Well, that helps grandma. You're pushing grandma off the cliff. And so part of the problem and part of the reason we don't get more specifics from our candidates is because we rarely as voters reward it, because we buy into what the media does and what the campaigns do to weaponize it. I've never seen a group of people, political consultants, who can weaponize a good idea into a horrible of horribles faster. Nobody can do that faster than a political consultant.
I do want to, before I let you go, I do want to clarify what Dave said is correct. What I said was, I just misspoke off the top. That unrealized capital gains is for people earning $100 million or more. And what I was reading and conflating, and I didn't mean to, was it's a long-term capital gains rate for $1 million, for those making $1 million or more, when you sell things like stocks, and it would raise to 28% from 20%. So thank you, Dave, for catching that and flagging that. Thank you, Boyd, for your analysis. Look forward to your show at 1 o'clock today.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
When I started with Salt Lake City fat loss, it was because I'd put on some weight. I got a little heavy, and it was hard to lose. I've tried to lose weight over the years, and the older I get, now that I'm in my late 40s, it just wasn't coming off as easy as it used to. And when I was talking to Salt Lake City Fat Loss, they said, trying to do it on your own, research shows that when you join a program, your results can improve tenfold, 10 times better when you join a program. And I was hoping to lose a lot of weight, and that's exactly what happened. I lost 57 pounds in just 60 days. The results were incredible. I stayed motivated with Salt Lake City Fat Loss, and I think you can too. Go ahead and reach out. Results vary, right? Everybody's going to lose at a different rate, but I tell you, I saw incredible results. Go ahead and reach out to Salt Lake City Fat Loss by going to slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com.
An improbable path to 4-0.
Sione Moa, he wanted Moa, and he kept going all the way in for 6. Run of the year.
This week, BYU is back on the road for another Big 12 showdown. BYU Baylor pregame starts at 8 in the morning with kickoff at 10 on Utah's legacy home for the Cougars, KSL News Radio.
In a world where ugly siding, leaky gutters, and inefficient windows are sapping homeowners of their will to live, one company must save us all. This year, join RGS Exteriors as it embarks on a mission to eliminate outdated home exteriors, one Utah home at a time. Every plank of old, ugly siding must be replaced. Every leaky gutter must be eradicated. Every inefficient, energy-sapping window must be vanquished. Once and for all. Begin your epic remodeling quest by calling RGS Exteriors for a free estimate. Discover how a heroic team of experts will save your siding, gutters, or windows for a fair, no-nonsense price. Call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or journey online to rgsexteriors.com. RGS Exteriors, coming soon to a home near you.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, what are you waiting for? Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie. And one thing I've learned is that you buy a house, but you make it a home. Because with every fix, update, and renovation, it becomes a little more your own. So you need all your jobs done well. For nearly 30 years, Angie has helped millions of homeowners hire skilled pros for the projects that matter. From plumbing to electrical, roof repair to deck upgrades. So leave it to the pros who will get your jobs done well. Hire high-quality certified pros at Angie.com.
Y'all want to hear about the AARP auto insurance program from the Hartford? Well, if you're age 50 or over, you can save hundreds when you switch. Are you ready for some exclusive discounts too? Phone's in the air now. We're going to sign you up, baby. Go to visithartfordauto.com today for your free quote.
When you're with the Hartford, the Bucks got your back. Provided by Hartford Fire Insurance Company, not AARP or its affiliates. Individual savings vary. The Hartford pays a royalty fee to AARP, which is used for external purposes. For information and restrictions, go to thehartford.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the Utah Supreme Court hearing arguments this morning on whether votes for Amendment D on Utah's fall ballot should be counted. Second, it's perfectly legal for a politician to lie while campaigning for office, thanks to the First Amendment. Third, an LA City bus was hijacked overnight. One person was killed, the driver and a passenger were rescued. The suspect is in custody. 77 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
If you are losing track of I'll just call them the alphabet amendments, we've got Amendment D being argued right now in front of the Utah Supreme Court. Our very own KSL News Radio's Adam Small is there listening to those arguments. We're going to have more on that in the next 10 minutes. And then also, of course, Maria will be covering it as well as Jeff Kaplan this afternoon. Right now, let's dive into another amendment that's in court this afternoon. It's Amendment A.
And I was really grateful to hear from Jeff Kaplan. He's like, how do you keep track of them? This is how I remember. He's like, Amendment A is all about the money. Amendment D is about the initiatives. I'm like, you know what? It's silly, but that's a great way to remember it. Heather Kelly is joining us right now. What have you been following most closely? It's Amendment A, right?
It's
all about the money?
Yeah, all about the money. Basically, Amendment A would allow the legislature to divert some of the money that is used right now from our income tax. So every year when you get a check and you get paid, the state takes a certain amount of that money, and right now 66% of that has to go to K through 12 education, and another 25% to higher education. So that's under our state constitution. So Amendment A would allow the legislature to actually change things up and not have to put every single piece of our income tax into education.
Now, the Utah Teachers Union, the UEA, the largest teachers union, has asked a judge to void Amendment A. If this sounds familiar to you, that's because another group has asked a judge and was granted. The judge agreed with them to void Amendment D. We're setting aside Amendment D for now, but let's go back to Amendment A. The UEA has asked the judge to void it, and this hearing this afternoon is what they call a status hearing. These can take all kinds of different twists and turns. You never really know until the arguments or both sides get there. But basically, usually what a status hearing is just setting dates, maybe reviewing some evidence for the rest of the hearings down the road. So give us some insights here on Amendment A, Heather, the arguments that you've been hearing as you've done this. You've researched this for your podcast, Money Making Sense. Yeah. The arguments for and against. And let's be fair to both sides here.
Well, of course. Well, if you're an educator, you're worried that you're not going to have as much money as you used to have to spend for your kids, whether it's buying pencils or paper or just keeping schools up to shape. That's their concern is, how am I going to make sure that kids are safe and they have all the tools they need so I can teach them. On the other side is, for the last several years, we've had a surplus. So every year, just kind of like your own home budget, we say, okay, educators, you get X amount of dollars to spend every year per pupil. And we've been like $6 million above that. Like, they've collected so much income tax that it's been greater than what was budgeted. So the legislature over the last few years has actually lowered the amount of income tax they're taking from your paychecks, and we still have a little bit of a surplus. So they now want to change things up and say, hey, let's change it so we can actually pull from this surplus and put it somewhere else instead of everything going to education. But I get it. The educators have seen their piece of the pie get broken up a little bit over the last 30 years. So 30 years ago, it used to be 100% of income tax went directly to K through 12. And then they changed it. So, let's give some of that to higher education. And then 4 years ago, they changed it so a small percentage will go to Medicaid.
And I met recently with the UTA president, UEA, and Voices for Utah Children. And one thing that was mentioned is they are concerned. It's a trust issue, that they're afraid that if this goes away, that they won't get that same level of funding that they've been enjoying the last several years, because even though the income tax has been reduced overall, the spending on education has gone through the roof over the last several years.
Yeah. Well, I spoke to Phil Dean. He's the chief economist at Kim C. Gardner Institute, and he said one of the companion bills on the ballot this year to go along with Amendment A is that they would make sure that the amount of spending per pupil never is reduced, and in fact, it could go up to 5% per.
So is that kind of like an insurance policy then?
Yeah, it is. They're saying, hey, look, we're not going to reduce any more of the spending that's been happening, and we could potentially increase it if we need to. But the other thing that Phil talked about is, given the birth rates that we've had, we have fewer kids being born in the state of Utah, and they know that by looking at the birth records. And so they're saying we're going to have fewer kids in school within the next 18 years. So there won't be as many kids to spend money on.
And the hope there is, as funding stays the same and even has these annual increases, once you have less kids in, then it naturally will give more money to the kids that are still there.
Correct. That's sort of this, theory that's going on. That's what Amendment A is about. But again, you're going to have people, they are worried, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, we can see it from both sides.
Yeah,
legislators feel like they need more flexibility with how we spend our income tax money, and educators want assurances that they are going to have the proper amount of funding to educate our kids, and as you said, do so safely.
Yes.
Heather, where can people find more information or find your podcast and listen to this?
So it's Money Making Sense, and you can find that under KSL Podcasts or anywhere else you listen to your podcast. This particular episode with Phil Dean is actually coming out next Wednesday, and you can hear a whole bunch about Amendment A.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And in the meantime, we will be covering today's hearing regarding the request from the teachers union to void Amendment A. That has not happened yet. This is something that the judge will have to hear and take under consideration. So there'll be some runway between today's hearing and when we hear a decision.
Yeah, thank you, Heather. One of the concerns I've heard from legislators is when you do tie exclusively or semi-exclusively education funding to the income tax, well, that's a very good thing when the economy is booming and people are making money and getting raises and the economy is good, then there's a lot of income tax. If people are losing their jobs and all of a sudden they're not collecting that income tax, then that directly affects the funding for schools. So legislators are saying having the freedom to throw it essentially all into a big pot and then be able to fund it and have that freedom year to year would be long-term, more sustainable. And just for a point of reference, we're the only or one of only a couple states in the entire country that funds education in this way, where we earmark state income tax. So everybody else in the states or in the country does it differently than us. We really are the outlier.
Should we wander down the alphabet now and talk about Amendment D?
We're just skipping B and C, Deb.
Just for today.
You touched on B, Heather. Thank you.
A. She's got A.
Well, it was A and B.
Oh,
the
A and
companion
B. That's
bill.
right.
Yeah.
A and B. You're right. I'm the one confused. A and B.
I have no idea what C is.
C.
I have no idea what C is, Deb. C does not exist in my mind.
Well, not for today. Let's set C aside. Is there a C? Yeah.
There is a C.
There's a C. We're going to skip on down the alphabet to Amendment D straight ahead. Our KSL legal analyst, Greg Skordas, joining the show. And Dave really pointed out something that made a lot of sense earlier in the show. Should the Utah Constitution be changed to strengthen the initiative process? And you really felt like the word strengthen is the hiccup here when it comes to the judge voiding Amendment D. Now, of course, that's what's being argued today in front of the Supreme Court as to whether or not to count that. It's on our ballots. But you felt the word strengthen is really what the standout word is here.
Yeah, and that is the inflammatory word. That's the divisive word, I think, that has got everybody kind of up in arms. Had it just read the exact same without that word strengthen, I think that changes everything.
It's 11:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour, police investigating a murder at an apartment complex in West Valley City where a man was apparently shot dead. Police say they found the victim in a parking lot after a passerby called it around 9:30 last night. West Valley Police Lieutenant Bill Merritt says they believe this was a targeted incident.
The people that live in the area have no need to fear. There's not somebody randomly going around and hurting people.
Multiple witnesses told police they heard some commotion at some point, but didn't know what was going on. No suspects have been named or arrested at this point. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. One person is dead and a SWAT team rescued others after a city bus was hijacked overnight in Los Angeles. There was a chase across L.A. An armed man made a drive at gunpoint with two passengers on board. Officers using spike strips got the bus stopped finally. One person died. The other passenger and the driver were okay. The suspect is now in custody. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average has been sliding all morning, down 308 points just now. The NASDAQ, though, has been bouncing up and down right now. It's up just 2 points. And our KSL weather, sunshine with the warm temperatures this week. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
This song doesn't have a name, but if it did, it'd probably be something about togetherness, because it's a collaboration, not between pop stars and producers, but between music therapists and kids. Music therapy is a treatment that doesn't involve medication or needles, and it's been proven to help children manage pain and contribute to faster healing. So it shouldn't surprise you, it's our favorite song. And just one way we partner with you for a life well lived. Intermountain Health, the power of we.
Hey, if you want to keep up to speed on all of the breaking news with the alerts, KSL text line is the way to go. Text NEWS, N-E-W-S, to 57500.
Trail mix, beef jerky, mixing all the soda flavors at the gas station soda machine. Snacks are better on the road. The gas is better when it's top tier. And the pit stop is better when there's a dinosaur there. Love the filler moments at a Sinclair gas station near you with DinoCare, our top tier gasoline. Some sweet and salty snacks for the commute, and a big green dino for the memories. Find a gas station near you at sinclairoil.com. Sinclair, fill up your life.
Jeff Kaplan.
I'm energized by breaking news. First of all, because it's right now, and second of all, because in many cases the audience needs to know. There's no more important service that we can provide, and I find it critically important to get more details to the audience as quickly as possible. There's nothing more energizing than that for me. Not at all. The most important thing we do is breaking news. I am gratified that so many people listen to me every afternoon on KSL, but what they don't know is that there are so many people behind the scenes making it happen, checking on the traffic, answering the phones, making the calls, talking to the newsmakers. They're out in the street, into the field to get the raw information, and then putting it all together so that I can sit in front of a microphone and be a source of information every afternoon. But there are so many people who make it happen. That's what you don't know.
Ride Home with Jeff Kaplan, weekdays 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
Well, freeway traffic is finally looking much better. The slowdown has ended and speeds are back to normal on southbound I-15 going from Midvale to Sandy. But we do have an accident where a car went completely off the roadway Mountain View corridor at California Avenue. Right now, Utah Symphony, Utah Opera tickets are $25 with shows like Cirque Cinema, Sweeney Todd, and Pirates of the Caribbean. There's something for everyone, and they have tickets to give away. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Warm and sunny with highs around 90 for the rest of the week. Right now, 79 degrees with sunny skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Dave and I sliding down the alphabet to Amendment D. Just spoke to Heather Kelly in depth about Amendment A. And Amendment D, it's printed on your ballot. But recently, a Utah judge issued an order and said void it. And now, of course, state lawmakers going before the Utah Supreme Court, at least with their argument, to unvoid it. They want it counted. And Dave, let's remind listeners what Amendment D is.
Amendment D has to do with the initiatives. That's how I remember it. D is for the initiatives.
Did you say initiatives?
the initiatives. It's how I have to remember
I'll never forget
Listen,
it now.
It's difficult to remember which one's A, which one's B. This is how I help remind myself what we're talking about, because the initiatives is the second way we can get laws passed in this state. Number one, obviously, the state legislature, but we, the citizens, we, the people, can write up an initiative and say, this is the law we want passed. This is how we want it to read. And in 13 easy steps, they are anything but easy. It is so burdensome, but it's very difficult and expensive. But in 13 steps, you can get an initiative on the ballot. And then in November, we vote on it. We vote thumbs up, thumbs down. And if it passes, then it is made law. Well, legislators don't love that because they like making laws. That's their job. And the initiative process can be kind of burdensome for them.
And the Amendment D on your ballot, you'll see it. It says, should the Utah Constitution be changed to strengthen the initiative process? And then it goes over a list of ways of how. But when a judge ruled on this, she came out and she said that the legislative leaders failed to accurately describe the subject matter in the text of the ballot question, and then also failed to publish the text of the amendment in newspapers across the state. Greg Skordas, our KSL legal analyst, joining us now, and Dave's got the first thought on this.
This one I kind of chuckle at, publishing in newspapers, and that's the hang up. But maybe you can speak from a legal perspective, even though kind of this assumption a couple hundred years ago that every county is going to have a newspaper and they're going to send it in the, whatever Gazette, and we're going to print and have it printed. That old school, does the law allow for that kind of outdated language to be freshened up or a deeper understanding?
Yeah, it actually does. And the citizens can, and the legislature can propose an amendment to the Constitution to be consistent with what is happening in society at a given time. I mean, certainly Second Amendment people have talked about, well, guns are different than they were 200-some years ago. Maybe we should change that, and we haven't. With respect to the ballot initiative process and how that goes about and what the Constitution requires, to change a constitutional amendment, our founding fathers decided that it really needed to go through certain hoops because it's so important when you're changing the Constitution. It shouldn't be something that's just spur of the moment. But yes, we certainly have had plenty of time to change the Constitution, to alter it. I think the legislature is trying to do that now, and their language is to strengthen the legislative process or strengthen the initiative process. I think had they just said to alter or amend or reform the initiative process, we probably wouldn't be here. But when they say strengthen, that implies something that a lot of people absolutely disagree with.
And give us a perspective on that side. Why are people disagreeing with this, or the plaintiffs disagreeing with this in this case?
Because what they're saying, Debbie, is that it doesn't strengthen the initiative process. It weakens it. It gives the legislature more authority to change what the citizens want. And the initiative process has always been to allow the citizens to make certain decisions themselves when they feel like the legislature isn't. And in 2018, they did three ballot initiatives. One was to legalize medical cannabis because the legislature was never going to do that. The second was to expand Medicaid because the legislature was never going to do that. And the third was to create this Better Boundaries Commission because the legislature has shown very clearly that they had no intention of redistricting the state or stop what people have felt was gerrymandering. So, yeah, the citizens took it upon themselves to do these things. The legislature changed them to such an extent, and I guess I'm being a little argumentative here, and I apologize for that none of these ballot initiatives even resemble what, the way the legislature finally enacted them is not what the citizens wanted at the beginning. So, yeah, we're in a position now where we either change the process or we hold the legislature's feet to the fire a little more and say, hey, you guys need to honor the will of the citizens.
One way states have handled the initiative process. We know California has 1 million initiatives every single year. They have a very easy initiative process compared to what we have here in Utah. But one thing that happens in Wyoming, if an initiative passes, there's a 2-year cooling off period is how they describe it, where the state legislature can't really tweak and make radical changes for 2 years to an initiative in Wyoming. Do we have anything similar here in Utah?
We don't. And actually, that would probably solve a lot of problems also if we could do that. But instead, we have this process under which if the amendment passed at the November election, it's not 2 years. It's less than 2 months before everything goes into effect in January or whenever the drop dead date is for the initiative. So, yeah, I mean, that would make a lot of sense, but it's not something we currently have in Utah.
Greg Skordas, thank you for joining us.
KSL News Radio's Adam Small just walked right back into the newsroom. Adam, you were at the Supreme Court hearing this morning. My understanding is it took the state about an hour and a half to present its side of this argument. Where are we at?
Well, yeah, they went into a recess, and I kind of had to run back so we could get moving on the Utah's new news show. But yeah, the state took about an hour and a half. They took a lot of questions from justices, and it centers around 2 key issues. I'm sure Greg's broken it down a little bit, but it focuses on, did the way that the state wrote the question of Amendment D on the ballot, was it misleading? And did the state meet the constitutional deadline, Utah's constitutional deadline, that if there's a constitutional amendment, they have to publish it in at least one newspaper in every county of the state where there is a newspaper 2 months before the election. State took a lot of different questions, and it's a lot of legal interpretation when you go to these hearings, and so some of it has made my mind a blender. But the big things I got out of it was the state's claiming we bought ad space through the Utah Press Association on September 16th. I'm not very familiar with the Press Association, which newspaper outlets that goes to, but either way, noting that's also not 2 months before the election via the constitutional requirement. They also took questions on, again, was the way they worded the question misleading? And if you read the way that they wrote the question, it basically prefaces what the initiative would do with, do you want to strengthen Utah's initiative process by XYZ? And there wasn't really a lot of concrete answers. I just felt like there was a lot of back and forth, but the state did its best to defend itself, but I have a hard time giving you a concrete answer of what their response was when the justices pushed them on that.
So from there, now the state has had its opportunity to argue why Amendment D should not be voided, because it is currently voided under the lower court's order. And now the plaintiffs will present their argument this afternoon. Adam, what's up with that?
So they should be getting back underway here pretty soon.
Okay.
It's just the state took quite a bit of time, so they had to just basically take a quick recess. And it's the justices are taking the approach of, we will take as much time as they need, because they recognize this is a very impactful case for voters in the entire state of Utah.
Adam, just to clarify, as far as publishing this in newspapers, when did they say that they had purchased this ad space?
They say they purchased it through the Utah Press Association on September 16th, but noting under the constitutional requirement it has to be 2 months before the election. Election day is November 5th. So
it was 50 days before Election Day, not 60 days that you needed.
Yeah.
Adam, thank you for joining us. We appreciate that.
You're going to have full reports during Maria's show this afternoon.
Yes.
Yeah, and of course, updates throughout the day on Jeff Kaplan's afternoon news. Adam Small, thank you so much for running back here to Broadcast House and also jumping in the chair with us to bring us an update on where things are at with the Supreme Court hearing on Amendment D. Straight ahead, this is Dave's story of the week. It's all about BYU fans, Dave. Give us a little preview of what we're going to hear from you in a second.
Well, first of all, it all has to do with the opposing quarterback, Avery Johnson of Kansas State.
Every touchdown I score this year, we're going to be able to donate some money to you through fans and everything like that.
The problem is BYU didn't allow Avery Johnson and his team to score any touchdowns, so he couldn't raise money for his principal that had cancer. Do not worry, folks. BYU fans totally stepped up.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Hey BYU football fans, this is Mitch Harper. Another BYU football game week is here as the Cougars return to the road to take on the Baylor Bears. And to get ready for the Big 12 battle on the Brazos River, visit your local Macy's grocery store for all of your game day needs. We've got great prices on all of your favorite game day items like burger patties, made fresh dips, and more. And did you know your favorite tailgate foods are also now offered through Macy's Catering? They offer a wide variety of catering platters from smoked meats to wings and even desserts. Catering is available to order online or in store. So whether you're having a small or large party, Macy's has you covered. Never miss a deal when you sign up for the Macy's Rewards program and emails so you can get the ads sent straight to your inbox each week.
Hi, this is BYU captain and defensive end Tyler Batty. It's football season again. Make sure to shop your local Macy's grocery stores for all your favorite tailgate foods.
Get game day ready with Macy's. Happy shopping.
When you crash your car, you get it fixed. When your computer crashes, you get a new one. But what will you do if you've been saving in a 401k or an IRA and the market crashes? If you're in your 30s or 40s, you'll be just fine. But if you're in or near retirement, you could be in trouble. Mike Stevens and his team at Capital Wealth Advisors are here to help. They can run a risk analysis to see if you're too heavily invested in the market. Don't let the ups and downs of Wall Street control you or your retirement dreams. Call 801-210-5500 today to schedule your risk analysis with Mike Stevens and the team at Capital Wealth Advisors. That's 801-210-5500. Crashes happen. Question is, are you ready? Capital Wealth Advisors, 801-210-5500. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy two. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. That's why our Lowe's Red Vest associates can help with game time decisions. Plus, use in-store mode on the Lowe's app to find what you need. Under pressure at home and want it soon? Order online by 2 p.m. to get it same day. Same day valid on eligible in-stock items and select zip codes only, subject to driver availability. Fees vary based on purchase. Exclusions and more terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
At Common Spirit Health, we know that lifelong health and well-being starts with primary care. So we have doctors and providers who see you, hear you, know you, and understand you. Because understanding you means understanding your needs. And that leads to a deeper knowledge of the prevention, wellness, and treatment options that may be best for you. It's primary care that treats your whole family like family. It's primary care with human kindness. Discover all the ways you can find and connect with a primary care provider at mountain.commonspirit.org.
Advanced Window Products. $2,500 off 10 windows or more. AdvancedWindows.com. Affordable windows. Guaranteed.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. BH Brand Co. is a woman-owned commercial photography business that believes in the power of storytelling. They understand that businesses like yours thrive on authentic imagery that captivates an audience. Founder Becca Hoffman joins us with more.
Images are crucial to your business's success. When done right, they captivate, tell your brand story, and connect you with your target audience. BH Brand Co. is a commercial photography and creative direction company that specializes in helping businesses thrive. With over 75 companies and 1,000 individuals photographed in the last 2 years, we understand that you need images that are not just visually stunning, but purposeful too. That's why we work with you to develop a custom photo shoot design that aligns with your brand's vision, helping you select the right wardrobe, props, and location to create the perfect look and feel. We bring your business to life through high-quality commercial photography and creative direction. We don't just take pictures, we tell stories. Stories that will help you connect with your audience and achieve your business goals. Your business has a story to tell. Let BH Brand Co. make your vision a reality.
Whether you're a small business seeking authentic images to elevate your brand, or a large organization in need of comprehensive event documentation, BH Brand Co. is here to make your aspirations a reality. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, police in West Valley are investigating a killing at an apartment complex near 12th West and 33rd South. Second, one person was killed. The suspect is now in custody after a city bus was hijacked in Los Angeles. The driver and another passenger were rescued. Third, Utah's governor hopes to increase the number of people who are eligible to become U.S. citizens but haven't taken that step yet. 79 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Utah. Dave and Debbie have special coverage.
This is definitely a heart of Utah. Way to go, BYU fans. Here's what we're going to be talking about. TDs to help Dr. Bots beat cancer.
This is one of my favorite stories. This is so great because I'm going to lay it out for you. So BYU has had this unbelievable start to the season. Expectations were really, I think, low for BYU football, and they've just played out of their minds. They've been playing phenomenally well. They've started off perfect 4-0, and it was this game on Saturday against Kansas State. Kansas State was the 13th ranked team in the nation. BYU is a huge underdog, right? This was going to be an incredibly difficult game. So as we're learning more about the team and kind of preparing for the team, we learn about their star quarterback, Avery Johnson. And one of the cool things about Avery Johnson is he wants to raise money for his old high school principal who is battling cancer. And he brought him onto his Instagram page, and this is what he told his former high school principal.
Every touchdown I score this year, we're going to be able to donate some money to you through fans and everything like that. So it's really you're really a motivation to me, just for how strong you are. And I just want you to know, like, you're not going through this fight alone. You have a lot of people that care about you.
I'm speechless. I don't even know what to say, but thank you. I mean, it touches my heart.
His name is Dr. Chris Bots. And as you heard the quarterback say, hey, every touchdown I score, we are going to donate so that you can get your cancer treatment. And the reason he needs money for cancer treatment is because he's in a trial. He's got to travel. He's got to make flights. It's very expensive.
A clinical trial for his cancer.
Yes.
Because it sounds, just reading Avery's page here, the GoFundMe, the TDs to help Dr. Bots beat cancer, it sounds like he beat it once. You know, like these are names you can't even pronounce, these types of cancers. Like, these just seems like, there's so many different kinds of cancer. So he's diagnosed with it in March of 2022. And then 6 months later, they get the great news that he's cancer-free. Well, then it returns in January of 2023.
So what Avery Johnson wants to do is, through this website called Champions Raise, he wants to raise money. It's essentially like a GoFundMe, right?
Oh, it is, yeah.
So anyway, he's getting ready for the game. He knows that BYU is playing really well, and BYU's defense is outstanding. So this is Avery Johnson before the game.
They're really talented. They're big guys. They're really disciplined and sound. Those guys play hard, and it's going to be a different environment for us. Elevation will be up, and that stadium can get pretty loud. So we're going to have to definitely come ready to compete and ready to play.
And sure enough, Kansas State comes in. It's a night game. They start playing against BYU's defense, and BYU is just playing phenomenally well. Just incredible. And this game just turns bad for Kansas State.
And that one might have been touched, maybe scooped up by the
in the nation. They touchdown. So no money was raised for Dr. Bots. Well, this story goes out, and BYU fans hear about it, and they start making donations of $39.09. $38.09. That's the score, the final score of the game.
Okay.
And they start donating $38.09, $38.09, $38.09 to this principal. They were trying to get $20,000, and they were like $4,000 or $5,000 raised up to that point. BYU has raised $50,000 for this principal now.
Wow. Yeah, I'm just looking into, as you said, it's kind of like a GoFundMe site, but it's called champsraise.com. And $50,299.22 has been raised. So is that just in the time that they played?
Yeah, just since the time they played. This is since Saturday. And we are 4 days into this, and it has just been this incredible thing. And what Avery Johnson, what the quarterback has done is originally it was $20,000. Mm-hmm. Once they hit the $20,000, he said, let's double it. Let's see if we can raise $40,000. So he raised it to $40,000. BYU fans got it up to $40,000. And then he's like, well, let's go for broke. Let's go to $80,000. And right now they're at over $50,000.
Let's check back with it during our Friday show. And
Isn't that a fun story?
It's a really good story. Yeah, thanks for highlighting that. It does make you feel, there's a lot of good in this world. And this will help him get back and forth to Houston, Texas, because he flies back and forth every Tuesday. And I guess every third Tuesday is chemo. An overnight stay is required as well. That gets really expensive on a family. So that's what this money will help, is while he's in this clinical trial to treat his cancer. It'll help fly him back and forth.
You want to talk about sportsmanship?
Yeah.
This is
cool.
Unbelievable. It's fun, right? I mean, you can say, "Oh, I can't believe they're rubbing it in at $38.09. That's what they're donating." Listen, this is bigger than any sport out there. This is a fun way to participate and raise money for this principal. And I love this story.
And all you have to give is $40, right? What did
$40.
You say? $39?
$38.09.
$38.
That's the key.
That's